Oh man, I got so many fun things to talk about. I don't even know where to start. But any topic, any caller today, for any reason, I'll even talk to pantheists and vegans, even though I don't like them. I don't like them. But if you do call in, you got to remember to be nice to me, because I've been recently diagnosed with NDD. And I've been told it's a very serious disorder. NDD needs treatment. I need treatment. What's that, Myron? What's NDD stand for? No disorder, disorder. Apparently I don't have any disorder, and that in itself is a disorder. I mean, how dare someone be normal and have nothing wrong with them? And that in itself, there's something wrong with you if you got nothing wrong with you. Right?
There is a new disorder sweeping the nation. It is called no disorder, disorder, or NDD. Symptoms include not needing any counseling from a therapist, a general sense of contentment and fulfillment, very low levels of anxiety or depression, and high levels of hope and reasonableness. If you suffer from NDD and problems hit you in life, you are more likely to blame yourself before blaming others or the society around you. Right now, sufferers of NDD get very little awareness, very little support, and are often demonized as being privileged. If you are a productive member of society who pays their taxes and raises well-behaved children, you probably suffer from NDD. Please ask your physician if you are a candidate for therapy for NDD, and your woke critical theory treatment can start immediately.
Excuse me. I just get a little choked up here. By the way, Vesna, and Vesna, I remembered your name this time. Vesna said, Doug, what template did you use to make that? You stole this from a real advertisement, and you changed the word. No, I made everything from scratch, as much as you can make things from scratch with today's technology. This was, I took Morgan Freeman's voice and I altered it a bit so it's not exactly the same. And then I used 11 Labs and then clone Morgan Freeman's voice, changed it a little bit, and then wrote the script, put that in 11 Labs, and then had the AI say the words you heard. And then I took stock footage of videos of happy people and families, and then took, which was all free, non-copyright, and then I took non-copyright music. So this is all legit, all free, all non-copyright. And I must admit, this is probably the highest quality video I've ever made, because usually most of my videos are junk. But this one I'm proud of. So, but if you call in, remember, I suffer from NDD. Floyd, you asked some great questions here. You asked, why should I vote? Where is it? Why should I vote for Democrats? Why should I vote for Democrats or Republicans if... Oh, here it is. When the stock market and the economy do better under Democrats. First of all, I would question if that's true, especially if you go back far enough. Like, where's the starting point? You could always use statistics to make your side look better. Does anybody disagree with that very reasonable statement? Like, do you disagree that I could take some metric of the economy, like unemployment or whatever, and take a starting point that would suit my needs? In fact, I think I've done this years ago. I think I looked up the unemployment rate of Republican presidents, under Republican presidents and Democratic presidents, and I believe the unemployment rate was lower under Republicans. But here's my point. If you talk like that, you're stupid. And here's why you're stupid. Because we all know that the economy has legs, right? So even if you implement a policy that under administration that's a good policy for the economy, it takes time to get through the system. And so if you enact it, let's say in your second or third year of your second term, the fruits of its labor will arrive with your opponent if they get elected. And then you say, well, the only reason why that president's doing well is because of the policies implemented by the previous president. And you can just, it's an infinite regress of that sort of thing. Same with the negative side. Well, the only reason why Obama had such a tough time in the first 2 years, the economy was not as good, is because of the screw-ups of his predecessor. Like, that's how it usually goes. In fact, Floyd, are you listening? The GDP under Obama, I've done this. I did this like a year ago. I got like several presidents here, and I just did GDP growth. The GDP under Obama was much lower than Trump. It was 1.9%, and Trump was 2.1, even including COVID. That's saying something. And if you want to look at stock market growth, I mean, before COVID, like Trump was pretty hard to beat. So you got to be very careful if you start saying, let me just be blunt, crap like that. And I'm a big believer that a lot of the times the economy has very little to do with administration. It has more to do with things like the Federal Reserve. But did you want to come in, Floyd? I can tell you, I can answer your other question. Your other question was, I would like to talk about why you would vote for Trump. How could anyone that cares about this country vote for someone who wants to overthrow the government? Okay, well, let me answer first, and if you don't like my answer, then you can come in. I watched Ben Shapiro the other day talk about the Hamas Israel thing, but someone else asked him a question about Trump, and it was weird because it was fairly recent. I think it happened a few days ago, but his answer was exactly the same as mine. Do I like Trump? No. Do I think he's a narcissist, egomaniac? Yes. Do I think he's going to overthrow the democracy of the United States? Hard no. Hard no. I am not fearful of that one bit. And the reason I'm not fearful about that is because I guess I just have more confidence in our Constitution and checks and balances than you, Floyd. Like, even if Trump said, my goal is to become a dictator and never give up my power if he wins again. You know what the probability of that actually coming to fruition is? When it comes down to it, he would have to have all the generals on his side to have that type of power. You think that's going to happen? Let alone get by the Supreme Court and the Congress, Senate. I mean, good luck. There's just so much irrational fear about Trump. It almost makes me chuckle. Now, then the question becomes, well, why would you vote for Trump over, let's say, Biden? Just based on policies and so forth. There's many reasons. I do think Trump would be better on the border, even though he didn't finish the wall. He didn't do a lot of things that he said he was going to do. But on things like immigration, things like, even though when it comes to him, he's against free speech, I think the Republican Party in general is a little bit better at making people cry. Come on, progressives. You have to give me that Republicans tend to be more insensitive, right? See, I view that as a good thing. You view that as a bad thing. when it comes to free speech, you want to be able to allow people to be insensitive, to say what they want. I think we have plenty of evidence of governments in the democratic administrations talking to Facebook, talking to Twitter, talking to other social media, and saying, "Hey, really pull that off, keep this in." That stuff has to go. And I think you're less likely to see that type of shenanigans in the Republican Party, those free speech type issues. Now, you can disagree with me, that's fine. Doug, watched your episode on the line. I was shocked at how hostile and uncharitable they were toward you. They even said they hated street epistemology people. Did they say that? Not how communities build bridges. Did they actually say they hated street epistemology people? I don't remember that. But yeah, that was my point, Sasha, to Anthony Magnabosco when he was in the live stream the other day, that when people hate you, you're not going to be able to do street epistemology with them. That's just science. And people hate me. That's a strong word, but I think it's apropos. And so I can do perfect SE, and it's not going to make a dent. What about high-ranking military officials who basically had to block Trump from doing something crazy? Bonanza David, you're making my point. This is why I'm not scared about Trump destroying the democratic process, democracy. You're making my point. Maybe next time he'll make sure to have yes men. Well, again, then you have to assume that he's going to be able to change the Supreme Court, change Congress, get enough senators and Congress people, be able to fire generals without, suspicion, and rehire generals in a 4-year period. I mean, there's just so many things that would have all the ducks would have to fall in a row for him perfectly. You can disagree with me, but I think any person who leans left, who's a Democrat, who's legitimately scared of Trump becoming a dictator, I think you're wacko. I think you're irrational. You have an irrational fear. And I'm not sure why, I don't even know, where this comes from. Even if you assume the worst case scenario, okay, Trump becomes dictator, do you think Trump's going to start rounding up people and killing them in the streets if he doesn't like them? I know, what's his name? Cenk Uygur thinks that he's actually going to start murdering people. This is just nuts to me. I wanted to play. I know there's, I got people riled up right now on many different topics like street epistemology and Democrats. January 6th, Travis asks, I've made my position clear on January 6th that it was bad, but it was nowhere close to our democracy being overthrown. I gave the example of it was in the 20s when people actually came into Congress and killed some congressmen. No, January 6th, when you compare it to other things in history, was not even on the radar of terrible things that have happened in our American history. Oh yeah, and getting back to Trump versus Biden, even Democrats realize that Biden is too old. He needs to go. Democrats even admit this. So it'll be interesting to see if he even runs. Did you want any of the January 6th hearings, Doug? Did I want them? Sure, why not? Oh, did you mean watch? Yeah, I watched some of it too. You said want. Okay, yeah, you corrected yourself. And technically, like even the fake electors thing, I know Democrats are going to hate hearing this. Technically, that wasn't illegal. That's the truth. That might shock you. So I'm willing to. I'm more willing to bet people on these things rather than talk about it because we'll just go in circles. But I'm willing to bet that Trump. Well, it has to be so clear. I'm willing to bet Trump will do 0 jail time. Anybody want to take a bet with me on that one? And I'm also willing to bet anyone that if it is Trump versus Biden, Trump will win. Anybody want to take a bet on that one? And I'm also willing to bet anyone that if Trump does win, that he will not be in office 5 years after he wins. He'll be gone, and the United States will go on. If you are a person who disagrees with me and you're so confident in your opinion, then bet real money against me. Bet real money against me if you're very confident. This is what I love about betting. Betting is like a street epistemology tool of confidence. If you're not even willing to bet $100 against me, I say that you are not even confident of your position. I think most Democrats agree with me that Trump will beat Biden if it was like, at least if the election was tomorrow. Yeah, and I'm willing to bet he won't get jail time. Travis, you want to take that bet? But even then, like, has he already had jail time because he went in to get his mugshot? Like, you got to be very careful with the definitions. I wanted to play something about Mr. Deity. Let's see if I can find it here. Mr. Deity was on the other day. And the reason why there's Democrats and the reason why there's Republicans, one of the reasons why they exist and why they think differently is this whole idea of fear. Democrats and Republicans have different fears. And fears are huge drivers of what we believe and how we act. And the other day, Mr. Deity came on and I asked him about his comment that he made about me that I haven't fully deconstructed because I'm still lean right. Still call myself a conservative. And I asked him about that. And I want to play his answer here. I'm not sure if it was heard. But anyway, you made the comment about how I haven't fully, only partially deconstructed.
Deconstructed, yes.
Because of my political views. What did you mean by that?
Well, I'm only, that's partially a comment about my own experience where I rethought everything on the theological realm, but I didn't rethink everything on the political realm. And that took me, as you know, I think we talked about this last time I was on, it took me, to actually vote for the other party, it was 20 years. It was a long time. I think it's harder. I think it's a lot more difficult in many ways to get past political indoctrination.
See, just this language, this is not very helpful, right? He views being Republican as an indoctrination, this similar to Mormonism for him, because he was a Mormon. This fascinates me that people can't just come to grips with the idea that people have different values and think differently. That it has to be indoctrination. And that for him, it took 20 years to get through it. Like this type of thinking, in my opinion, if you want a better society, has to stop. Like, I don't talk this way about Democrats. Oh, you've just been indoctrinated. Like, start your own business, become successful. You will come around. You'll become a Republican. But if you're, poor and lonely and sad, you're going to stay. You got to get over that that failure and indoctrination that you've had. No, I don't talk like that. I respect Democrats. Some of them have great ideas. Some Republicans have great ideas. But are you saying that if you are a Christian, you become an atheist, and you stay, no matter what country you're in, and you stay right of the political center, that you haven't fully deconstructed? That a marker for full deconstruction is when you actually become left of center politically?
My suspicion is, yes, in many ways, I do think that's true, because I think the worldview change is so significant that if you follow through the thinking, you may not go left, but I think you're probably going to be a little left of center, simply because you realize there's no one here
Right here
looking out for us.
Yes. See, this is why a lot of Mormons, when they leave Mormonism, they go hard left, progressive Democrat. Because there's no one to look after them. There's this fear. If I lose my job, if I get sick, who's going to take care of me if God's not real? It is this same type of fear that drives people to religion, of this desire for God to take care of you, that everything's going to be okay because God's in control. It just shifts from that to everything's going to be okay, the big government's in control. They'll take care of me. And I think for people like Mr. Deity, that whole idea of, well, if you're an atheist, you have to be Democrat. You have to lean left, maybe not far left, but you have to be left, because who else is going to take care of us? Not thinking for 1 second that people can have a difference of opinion, that you can actually be taken better care of with at least some conservative principles. Now, of course, Democrats are going to severely disagree with what I just said. But you got to admit that there's people who do believe this, right? That some Western societies are better societies than other societies because of a little more capitalism. Thank you, Stephanie. Doug just hit the nail on the head. Okay.
This is a mess. It's a freaking mess. You know what though? I didn't want to talk politics here.
Yeah. So, and then he quickly changed the subject. I mean, I don't want to make him look bad, but he didn't want to talk politics, and I'm scared that it's never going to happen, that he's going to come back and we get to talk about these things and talk about what woke means, because his big thing is on the wokeness, that I'm making fun of woke people. But again, I'm making a very specific definition, one in which I don't even think he disagrees with. I define woke as this hypersensitivity, this feel sorry forism that leads people to not think about objectively, to condone bad behavior, to always look at the world in terms of oppressors and the oppressed. And these are concepts that a lot of very left-wing progressive people agree with. And we just disagree with, they view that, but this is good. And then I would say, no, this is bad, at least in some aspects. So I would really love to talk to him about this woke thing. Another thought I had the other day was, I get so many people who say, oh, Doug, define woke. You've never defined woke. And I defined it like a million times already. I think I would love to get progressive left-wing people to come on today and define MAGA for me. And not just what it stands for, like make America great again, but what does that really mean? And I bet you, because I'm a betting man, that you're going to struggle. In fact, I bet you I can so easily trap you into self-identifying as a MAGA person, because I could find parts of the MAGA ideology that you actually agree with. Like whenever you hear in the past people like Hillary Clinton says we need to take our country back, make America great again, get rid of Trump. Make America great again, get rid of George W. Bush. Let's bring our our democratic real principles back. Let's make America great again. I could very easily, under certain definitions of MAGA, accuse progressive left-wingers as being MAGA. The good old days of Clinton, where we had surplus. Right? Remember the 90s? Let's make America like that again, like in the days of Clinton. You progressive lefts are MAGA. So much fun. Another thing I wanted to get out of the way is I did a video that actually went kind of viral for me. Where is it here? This one. I think it has over 100,000 views. I hate shorts because they don't even tell you very easily how many views it has. Let me see here. Without me going into my... It has 2.7K likes. But I'm quite sure it's 6-figure views. And I've had so many comments on this one is that I'm being disingenuous. I'm a man of poor character because I didn't play David Wood's response to Bart Ehrman. So let me quickly play this in case you guys haven't seen it.
Drawing on these stories, it looks like he's just taking them and modifying them so that instead of Jesus saying, I'm the Son of God sent for the salvation of the world, he says, I'm a servant of Allah sent with revelation, and I'm a prophet.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I mean, it's clear, you know, if you've got stories that are like that prior to the Quran and they're very similar to the Quran, then it's, you know, it's not an accident. But it's like, you know, I mean, going back to the earlier thing, it's not an accident that you have these stories of the divine men in the Greek and Roman world before Jesus who were born miraculously, do miracles and raise the dead and stuff. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not an accident that you have these similar stories.
Oops. Oops.
Yeah, I'm muted. People accuse me that I set this video up with no response from David Wood. Well, guess what? David Wood had no response to this. Yeah, I know I was muted. Rookie mistake. And here's the proof here. Let me, here's the original.
Actually looks like Muhammad isn't just drawing on these stories. It looks like he's just taking them and modifying them so that instead of Jesus saying, I'm the Son of God sent for the salvation of the world, he says, I'm a servant of Allah sent with revelation, and I'm a prophet.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I mean, it's clear, you know, if you've got stories that are like that prior to the Quran and they're very similar to the Quran, then it's, you know, it's not an accident. But it's like, you know, I mean, going back to the earlier thing, it's not an accident that you have these stories of the divine men in the Greek and Roman world before Jesus who were born miraculously, do miracles and raise the dead and stuff. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not an accident that you have these similar stories.
Okay, and this is where I cut it, and this is where I put in the oops, you know, to really make David Wood look really bad, like he didn't know what to say. And so many Christians said, Doug, you're being a bad boy for doing this because David Wood, you know, you didn't play his response to Bart Ehrman, because you would expect David Wood to say something like, well, no, Jesus was not borrowed from Greek myths or texts that came before. Well, let's see how David Wood responded.
What's interesting is that right after that passage of Jesus speaking, even though it's not mentioned anywhere in the text that Jesus, that there's anything about the Son of God in the passage in the Quran, immediately after the passage, it says, Allah does not have a son.
He completely ignores Bart Ehrman's point that the New Testament authors did the same thing that the Quranic authors did. David just ignored it and went on. So I expect an apology from all those people who poo-pooed me in the comment section, saying that I was very disingenuous, made David Wood look bad for no reason, didn't play his response. He ignored Bart Ehrman there, Bart Ehrman's point. But guess what? I will forgive you. I also want to comment on this. There's so many fun things that's happened. I mean, I get so much hope, meaning, and purpose. I was on Digital Gnosis's live stream on November 10th, and the topic of immigration came up with a progressive left, and we talked about many things. I thought we agreed on many things. But I just want to show the thinking that goes on in some of the brains of the progressive left. Because the quiet part in their brain came out loud here. By the way, for those of you who don't know, I am an immigrant to the United States.
For the illegal immigrants in this country.
Wait a minute. Okay, you're for illegal immigrants in this country, but you're not for the ones that are murderers, right?
Well, I can't say I'm for 100% of them, Doug, just like I'm not for 100% of legal immigrants, right?
Okay, what percentage are you for then?
Hold on. I'd much rather not have you here voting for the fucking right. I'd much rather have them deny you go back to Canada so that, right, we don't need to add.
Go back to where you came from.
So that's what I'm saying, right? Like,
well,
so sure.
You're not for diversity of a thought and opinion? Are you? By the way, this is, if you're conservative, you lean right, this is how you deal with progressive lefts. When they start saying stupid stuff like this, you bring up things they value, like diversity and inclusion, and apply it to what they hate, like conservative principles, let's say. You're not for diversity of thought? Like, if you had a company, would you not want conservative voices in there because you like diversity? Use the exact same language they use against them. Are you against diversity and inclusion?
Oh, man. You know exactly what
I've been doing this too long, Sean.
I know, but we're playing a game now, not actually having a real conversation.
You sound like a closed-minded, dogmatic, anti-progressive person who says, I'd rather not have opinions like yours voting. I'm against diversity of thoughts and opinions politically. That's what you sound like.
Well, one, it was a joke, but two, what I'm saying is I'm never
Are you joking?
Hold on, Doug.
Yeah, does it sound like he was joking when he said it? He realized the faux pas he made, and he tried to brush it off as a joke. But I think I could even find him or people that he associates with in certain live streams where they've said, basically, we need to get rid of the thinking, the types of people, not get rid of as, to de-live me, but that certain conservative thoughts need to be demolished. And yeah, see, in a way, you could view, the guy's name was Sean, you could view Sean as MAGA. Sean is MAGA. He's like a Trump supporter. He wants to make America great again by getting rid of immigrants like me. It is so hilarious and ironic, the horseshoe theory, that some progressive lefts, just demonize those MAGAs who just want to get rid of all those Mexicans. Well, here's Sean. Let's get rid of those Canadians who vote conservative. Sean is as MAGA as the MAGAs. By the way, and that's how you change people's minds, is you put a mirror in front of them saying, you are the person you hate. That's a very effective tool in changing people's minds. I also wanted to play this video. I actually haven't heard most of this. I've only heard, like, it's 8 minutes long, 9 minutes long. I've only heard maybe 60 seconds of it. But someone the other day made a comment that Doug probably agrees with Darth Dawkins on things. Yeah, I probably do. And I will make the claim that if someone that you hate or dislike greatly, if you're not willing to concede that you might agree with them on some other completely tangential topic, you're an idiot. I bet you there's people here who call themselves progressive lefts who agree with Trump 100% on certain issues. I bet you I could find something. Like, didn't Trump pass some legislation for veterans or something to give them more care or whatever? Like, is there any progressive lefts here or against that? I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe that, I think it is true. But the point is that even someone who you think is your political enemy, there's going to be things you're going to agree with. And if you deny that, I just question your intelligence. So let's see if I'm right. Let's see if I'm going to agree with Darth Dawkins on something. And this is about the Matt Dillahunty debate with Andrew Wilson, the Crucible.
Check out Matt Dillabloviator.
Oh, Matt Dillahunty?
It's Matt Dillabloviator. Yeah, because this guy, Andrew...
I don't think he bloviates.
Really, skewered him mocking and condemning transsexualism included in his attack upon humanism.
From my perspective, for instance, attempting to lie to people who claim men can be women isn't human flourishing. From Matt's perspective, it is. Why?
Okay, now is there any progressive lefts here who disagree with Andrew Wilson that lying to people isn't human flourishing? I dare any progressive to disagree with that statement that Andrew just made. Now, you can hate Andrew. You can think he's smug and vile and a horrible human being. But you should be, as a progressive left person, be willing to say, that claim he just made, I agree with. Now, you can say in proportion, like I agree with that maybe 90% of the time. Maybe sometimes you do need to lie to people to promote human flourishing. The example I can think of is with children. Sometimes you have to lie to children to protect them. Like if some really young children knew the truth, they might be so mentally demolished that like they'd have nightmares if they knew how the world actually worked and what sort of things happen, that pedophiles exist, and you could actually be abducted someday and raped and murdered. Like, as a parent, you don't tell your 5-year-old these things, even though it's true. That could happen. You don't tell that truth. But in general, Andrew from the Crucible is right here. Can't say 100% right because of those exceptions, but in general, it's not human flourishing to lie to people.
Why should the collective of humanity lie and say men can get pregnant? Why should they say that men can have periods? Things which are categorically and obviously false.
Okay, and this is where some people might disagree with Andrew. It's all based on definitions, right? And we have different definitions, Matt might say. Fair enough, but you got to admit historically, the definition of man and woman has not included the idea that a man can get pregnant, that a man can menstruate, and that sort of thing. You got to give Andrew that historically, those things don't go together. And that it's a fairly recent new phenomenon to say things like men can get pregnant, men can menstruate. You got to give Andrew that.
That preserving homosexuality in society is good for human flourishing, even though they are reproductive dead ends.
and because Matt Dillahunty's in a homosexual relationship with a transvestite male,
Correct.
he was so pissed that he feigned or faked leaving the debate because Andrew, his debate opponent, quote unquote, wasn't on topic, and he was just simply Matt Dillahunty was saying, well, he's just talking about Matt thinks this, Matt.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Matt was pretending to be offended. I can see how that could be possible, though, because I'm reminded of Will Smith when he punched Chris Rock. I view what happened with Matt in that debate could be like a Will Smith moment, where Will Smith is actually laughing at Chris Rock. This is all on video. He's laughing at the joke, but then he looks over at his wife, and his wife is not happy. So then Will Smith has to get into defending mode. Oh, my wife's not happy. I shouldn't be happy. I shouldn't be laughing. He probably was embarrassed that he was laughing, got up, and then smacked Chris Rock. And maybe this was like Matt's Will Smith moment where he has to get up and show that his partner, how much he cares by exiting the debate.
Thinks that rather than discussing humanism. Well, everything that he criticized in there, the humanists accept.
To the question of if a man can be a woman, they say the answer is yes. And the way we will decree they can be a woman is by simply saying that woman now means male. Problem solved.
No, they don't say that. Woman just means some gender social construct. So Andrew's wrong there.
Thank you, secular humanists.
But, Matt could have corrected him if he would have stayed.
Thank you so much. Nope, not kidding. Why, you ask, would people be this over the top stupid? Well, it's simple. The good is the good, man. We have to do what's good for human society and human flourishing. And if you don't call these deranged lunatics something they obviously aren't, they might self-terminate. So in order to avoid that, we need to make everybody on planet Earth lie to them.
Okay, now the characterization is definitely offensive, right? Deranged lunatics. But if you're a little more dead inside like me, you can hear stuff like that and just let it slide. You can focus on the real claim being made.
This is human flourish.
Yeah, and they're so funny. Matt takes off his microphone, he gets up, and he says, he calls Andrew a jackass. So Andrew decides to, give him a little quid pro quo, and he tells Matt Dillahunty.
Cybermanner, the trans topic is so boring at this point. I can understand why people say that, but the transgender thing is a great issue to talk about for other things like free speech issues. The right for people to actually say, no, you're not a man, no, you're not a woman. You're just pretending to be. I believe that people in the United States should be allowed to say that, and if that makes other people cry, that's their problem. Now, there's people who strongly disagree with me, but and for the reason of self-termination, and this is what Andrew was bringing up, that ultimately what it boils down to is not just depression, that if you say certain things, it's going to hurt people's feelings, they'll be depressed. They go further than that. They're going to commit suicide, and so you have to support them. This is a type of emotional manipulation that I am very against.
That he hopes Matt and his husband have a good night. Or I forget the exact wordings were, but it was so funny.
Hey, James, I just sent you a message.
All right. We are going to kick it into an open discussion, so 50 minutes, and let's kick it.
The preparation that I went through and what people were here for.
You're so indignant.
Keep interrupting me.
I am.
Okay.
You're so indignant.
Would the moderator like to step in so that I can finish what I'm saying?
Please, Matt.
See, I think and I said this before, I think what Andrew did was brilliant. He conceded that God doesn't exist. And that if human secularism is about human flourishing, Number one, we have to tell the truth of what actually causes the most human flourishing. And Andrew's point is you can't lie to people just to make them feel good in the short term, that human flourishing should be something that should be more long term. What else was I going to say? And that if you concede that God doesn't exist, but these beliefs have utility, then it becomes very subjective what's the best utility. Because Matt could say the best utility is for if someone identifies as a as a man, but they're female. Andrew would argue that that doesn't lead to human flourishing, is not the best utility. Matt would say, yes, it is. And if there is, and Andrew's point is, if there's no God, no firm foundation for truth, then it's just a matter of human subjective opinion, which I agree, it is. But so what? Now we got to figure out what actually leads to more human flourishing. And that would have been a great conversation to have if Matt would have stayed. Like, I wonder what Andrew would have done if I was there instead of Matt, and I would have conceded. I would have said, well, thank you for conceding God doesn't exist. Now let's talk about human flourishing. And hey, Andrew, I agree with you. We shouldn't lie to people. And under the common definition of man and woman, yeah, if you're trans, you're not a real man. You're not a real woman. And we as a society should not buy into that lie. But it's all based on definitions and blah, blah, blah. And you can have a great conversation. I wonder what Andrew would have done. I think Andrew would be more scared to talk to a guy, an atheist like me, than Matt. Because Matt is just so easy just to manipulate with emotion.
How dare someone have an opposing worldview?
I'm not going to sit here and dignify what was supposed to be a debate about Christianity versus secular humanism, which one's better for the world.
Yes.
With someone who clearly showed up with an agenda that has nothing to do with that. Someone who refers to trans people as deranged lunatics who will self-terminate if you dare to question them.
How am I wrong, Matt?
Someone who...
Yeah, see, we as a society have to get over these triggering words. Andrew asked a good question. How am I wrong, Matt? Matt, you could have just very calmly tell him how he's wrong. How are they not deranged lunatics that if you disagree with them will self-terminate, commit suicide? Explain it to him. But I don't think Matt wants to go there, because then he has to start talking about the differences between disorders and lunacy. I mean, it gets very uncomfortable, these real conversations. Then you have to start talking about, well, yeah, what causes these suicides? It's not being accepted, not feeling accepted, not accepting yourself. Very uncomfortable conversations, especially when your partner is trans.
Misrepresents a quote from a debate where I said I wouldn't make a law about 9-year-olds having sex being legal with respect to the 9-year-olds, not that I was in any way in favor of it and that I was actually opposed to it, which I addressed during that debate. But moreover, this is not remotely an honest interaction on the front of whether or not secular humanism is valuable. Because this, when he presented his position here, has nothing to do with secular humanism.
I wouldn't say nothing, Matt. It's like Andrew's point was that I can concede that God does not exist, and we can still disagree on what causes human flourishing. And Andrew's point was, number one, you can't lie to people if you want human flourishing. And I see secular humanists like you, Matt, lying about the trans issue. That's his point. And that would have been a great conversation to have. But Matt didn't want it.
From the get-go, it's all about me. Matt thinks, Matt thinks, Matt thinks. I'm giving what Matt thinks.
As long as multiple people hold fun.
To trash talk people. And
well,
attacking him for saying that, and he said, well, why are you attacking me? You shouldn't have any problem with that if you're in favor of that whole trans thing.
Right.
Right. You know. So why, so it's like it wouldn't be, it should.
Andrew was.
I'm playing this to show people that you can actually disagree strongly with someone like Darth Dawkins on the God question and still agree on other things. I'm waiting to see if there's things Darth says that I agree with.
Using the same kind of mockery and sarcasm in his polemic that Matt Dillahunty uses all the time. And
found it. I agree with Darth Dawkins here. I made the same comment myself a week ago when Matt accuses Andrew of being smug and using foul language or whatever. Matt does that all the time.
like other of these virulent atheists, like Aaron Ramanoodle, Batgone Crazy, Christopher Hitchens, Matt the Obliviator, they in a very smarmy, arrogant way mock Christianity. Right? Well, hey, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander.
Yeah, I agree. If you can't stand the heat, don't be in the kitchen.
That he's just in a relationship with a homosexual transvestite.
Yeah, and Darth Dawkins uses the word transvestite on purpose. He's using it for people on the progressive left to hear that word and get mad. And here's my advice to the progressive left. Don't let Darth Dawkins manipulate you. Be able to hear the word transvestite over and over and over again and not affect you. Be a little more dead inside. I think I'm ready to open up the room now. Oh, I wanted to play this. This will really get, I think, people excited. I saw this on Candace Owens' podcast. And I thought this was a good example of bad parenting.
A University of Georgia student who I guess was bothered when she saw a person that was performing on the piano and she was walking by.
Okay, so what happened here is, guy's playing his piano. A girl comes up, crashes the piano down. She says, "I'm sorry," and then pretends to give him a tip, but then actually takes his tip money. As a parent, this makes me furious. And it makes me want to say that this particular young lady had horrible, rotten, no good parents, probably. Or no parents at all. My kids would never, ever, I'd bet my whole net worth that they would never do anything like that. Why? Because they were raised properly. So I wanted to judge people. Because it makes me feel good to say that this particular young lady is horrible. But what's worse is that her parents are horrible. Yeah, and I'd bet money that she didn't have a father in the home. This is why fathers in the home are important. Oh yeah, that one. Oh, I'm not gonna play that one. Okay, let's open up the room. She probably was on drugs, so it's okay. Yeah, drugs makes everything. normal or okay. You bet it has nothing to do with bad parenting? Oh, I'll take that bet. I wish we could find her, look into her history. But JR, you lose your money on that one. No, maybe not. But I'd be willing to bet $100 that she didn't have a father in the home. You want to take me on that bet? $100. But I don't know if we can ever find out the truth. Okay. Room's open. I've said enough triggering things that someone's bound to want to talk to me and disagree with me, right? Or maybe everybody agrees with everything I've said. And everything's fine. Caleb. Oh, I haven't talked to you in a while. Hey, good to see you again.
Hey, Doug. It's been a minute. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, actually. Let me capture your soul. You still Christian?
Yeah, unfortunately, you haven't. I haven't been watching enough of your stuff, right?
Well, you know what?
Convert.
That's fine. Stay a Christian. You probably need it. Sorry, that was.
You saying I'm not? You saying I'm not dead enough inside for you that I can't bear with the unbearableness of nihilism and dying and all that stuff. So I have to have Jesus.
Yeah, I am actually saying that. And you know, what's her name? That woman from Africa or Egypt, Arsene Ali. Do you know who I'm talking about? She recently,
the one who just converted.
Yeah. And if you read her blog post, she brings up nihilism. She basically says, I can't stand being an atheist. I don't have any hope, meaning, and purpose. I'm becoming a Christian.
I mean, yeah, I think that's probably why a good portion, if not the majority of people, accept some kind of theism, right? That and the community behind it and their religious experiences. I don't think you disagree with any of that. So
nope.
I don't deny that in that particular way. But
the problem is like once she, at the end of her blog post, she says, I'm looking forward to researching more about Christianity and learning more. Like she's coming into Christianity from a very practical standpoint, which is not bad. But the thing is, I'm curious to see how is she going to force herself to believe something that she doesn't believe, like a man rose from the dead. Is she going to just become some type of cultural Christian and not really believe the core propositions? We'll wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, well, you're saying she converted before she looked into it is basically what
she admits that.
Is that yeah. She couldn't bear the existence of inevitability of death, essentially, and so she's like, well, might as well take on that faith. So, yeah, I mean, I think that is common, but I'm happy for her. But whether or not that sticks, I don't know. I think people like that are easy to kind of move back and forth. And so I don't even know if she was originally, I mean, I know she was an atheist before that, but was she like raised in a home and deconverted and became an atheist and now she's coming back to it?
I think she was raised Muslim, wasn't she?
Oh, so she's just been all around the horn. She's Muslim, then atheist, then Christian. Maybe she'll be
I'm not
Hindu
sure. Someone in the live stream chat knows better than us. So and how do you pronounce her name? I don't even know.
I don't even know. Yeah.
But anyway, what did you really want to come on and talk about?
Well, no, I just was saying your comments about the Dillahunty debate, and I think I tentatively agree with you. I don't have any really strong opinions about the trans issue, but it is difficult. You know, I don't think Matt should have walked off, though. He should have been more, reserved in that way. And it's also, I don't know if you saw, he's also quit another debate a couple of weeks before this one, so 2 within a month. That one was against a flat earther who was giving basically nonsense. But Matt just quit that debate like an hour into it because it just was too much to have to talk to that person. So it is kind of funny that he quit 2 debates in, a month's period of time.
You just
not
said
a good
something
look for him, though.
Yeah, I agree. He's like, as he gets older, he's like more willing to walk out. But you said something interesting just now, that you have no strong opinion about the trans debate.
Well, I mean, I would agree with you, but I think I'm more sympathetic, and maybe that's just because I'm not nearly as dead inside as you are in terms of I do think it's difficult when you have people who are, wanting to commit suicide and so forth. And so, and it's difficult because like I can understand someone saying, okay, we're going to change or at least broaden the definition of what it means to be a woman, right? Where you could say, okay, American used to mean you were born in America, you have natural citizenship, but now immigrants can be Americans if they go through certain tests, right? You can have people who are Americans who aren't born American. So if they want to say, well, look, we're just changing the definition to say you don't have to be born a woman, you're either a cis woman or a trans woman, but you're both under the same umbrella. I think my only issue with that is that there's not really any criteria other than just I feel like I'm a woman. Like if it was anyone who has certain genitals or certain hormones is a woman, then technically, yes, someone who does undergo certain body modifications would be a woman by that standard. But the problem is they also want to incorporate people who are gender fluid, who just say, well, I can be a woman one day and a man one day. And so I think they need to pick one. If you're going to say gender has nothing to do with biology, then gender fluid sort of makes sense. It's a social construct, but you be whatever. It doesn't matter what your body is. But if you're going to say, no, I feel like I have to be in this body.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty because I've done it so many times, but I just wanted to encourage you. You shouldn't say that you don't have a strong opinion about the trans issue, especially as a Christian, because there's people's like well-being and lives at stake here, right? And as a Christian, you should say you want the best for women, you want the best for children, for teenagers.
Yeah, I do. But it's like if my only options were someone kills himself or they transition, which one's the bigger sin?
Ooh, see now,
yeah, it's a hard one.
Well, no, well, for me, I hear that type of
not
language.
For you. But...
For me, that type of language is like screaming emotional manipulation. Would you rather have a dead daughter or a live son? I mean,
right.
I mean, I do not negotiate with terrorists.
Well, see, now they're going to say you're calling trans people terrorists now, and they're going to have the anti-Palestine people who don't like you, or sorry, the Palestinian people who don't like you now. Now you have the trans community who doesn't like you. You're just stacking up your enemies here.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people agree with me. Like, this is emotional manipulation, and even the data doesn't support it. It's always suicide ideation and risk of suicide. Like, the actual number of trans people who commit suicide, we don't even know that number. We don't know it. And even trans people who do commit suicide, I'm not saying it never happens. My guess is it's maybe in the tens of people in a country of 350 million. And a lot of the trans people who do commit suicide have so many other problems in their life other than being trans. How do you pinpoint? It's like the martyrdom. How do you know they died for their belief in the resurrection? How do you know they died for being trans? Like, and not because they're in the drug trade or they're in the sex trade or whatever. I mean, there's so many problems with this type of manipulation.
I really like how you take like apologetic arguments and then try to put them on.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Secular liberals, right? Yeah, it's really, and it gets them.
They don't know what to do
upset.
because it causes cognitive dissonance in their brains because they agree with me on the martyrdom, but then I apply it to trans and they don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's like secular humanism, but if you could show that religion helps a lot of people and is beneficial, then like, well, we keep it if we're going to help well-being, and they're like, well, no, we can't do that because it's lying to them.
Excellent point. Then that's what Matt and Andrew, if Matt would have stayed, could have talked about. Like if you're talking about what provides a better flourishing, if the data says that staying a Christian provides more flourishing, then as a secular humanist, you should say, stay a Christian then. Right.
Yeah. No, I get that. I guess to Steelman, then they would say that having that epistemology, it's like faith-based, has other negative aspects. Like if you're going to say, well, we're just going to take things on faith without evidence, you're going to get people voting certain ways that are, if they're voting in bigoted ways that aren't logical, if they're going to say to follow reason and logic, that's what it leads to. But I agree that the idea of lying to yourself to a certain degree, if that can improve flourishing, do we just say we're going to accept hard truths regardless of the consequences and truth is what matters? Or do we say, well, we want to be rational, but if we can compartmentalize and have something that makes us feel good, even if we don't have good reason for it, but it helps our flourishing, we'll take what we can get. So it is an interesting dilemma for them.
And for me too, because I have flip-flopped over the years about, do I agree with Hitchens that religion poisons everything? Or do I say, admit that some people need certain concepts for their own flourishing and survival? And so do we, instead of get rid of religion, do we reform it to something more benign? And I'm starting to lean, do you reform it to something more benign? Like I think if you're a cultural Christian who doesn't really buy into, a man walking on water and rising from the dead, but believes in some type of higher power and the morality, say the non-violent pacifism of Jesus, or some, the good fuzzy stuff, touchy-feely stuff. If the people in the Gaza Strip were Mennonites, there wouldn't be bombings today. If we could convert all the Palestinians to be Mennonites, I bet you the Jews would say, leave them alone. Here's your state. So have fun.
Yeah, I mean, certainly religion plays a part of that. I don't know, though. So you don't think that you could have, like what you say, move to Denmark and get $100,000 or whatever it is. You don't think that if you were able to, if you had the means to, would you want to give everyone in the world money and have them live in do you think that you could have the Scandinavian model work globally in this secular paradise that a lot of new atheists want, or do you think that's not realistic?
I don't think it's realistic economically.
Okay. So okay, that's interesting. So I guess you would probably go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think history has shown that some combination of capitalism and socialism works best. And in different societies, it maybe lean more capitalistic, and other societies maybe lean a little bit more socialistic. But I think human nature thrives more with this idea of self-interest. And I can even put bad words to it. I think humans flourish more when you harness things like selfishness and greed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sense of competition there, right?
Yeah.
When you have that, because there's, to a certain degree, I mean, you don't want, if everyone is selfish, you wouldn't have a social species, but if everyone was
not even that. And again, I'm using these terms on purpose to trigger certain people, but one could say that selfishness, if I'm a selfish guy, but I'm intelligent, I should know that helping others will help me, which is a selfish thing. Right? So let's say you're a billionaire, and I disagree with you on so many things about Christianity or whatever, but you got lots of money, and I think I'm selfish, but I'm intelligent, so I realize that, there's future's not guaranteed to be great for me, and we could go hit a depression. I'm going to be friends with Caleb. I'm going to treat him really well, but I can say all for nefarious reasons. But who cares what the motive is? I'm still treating you well in hopes that if things get bad for me, you will help me out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't all of that technically self-interest? Isn't all ethics sort of self-interested to an extent? I think it's called egoism, but I think you've asked this before, to other people, in terms of if you want to go to heaven and you want to give it all to God, isn't the whole idea of wanting to be a Jesus makes you feel good, makes you happy?
Yes.
So aren't you doing it for yourself? And so it all does come down to your desires, right? Which I think I would probably agree with. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because even wanting to help other people because it makes you feel good or it's right? Yep. It's still reflective of that. So it's it's short-term versus long-term. Selfishness may have short-term benefits, but not in the long term.
I'm very skeptical of Christians who say, I just love Jesus for who he is. To me, that's BS. And you can disagree with me on this, but I think people love Jesus for what Jesus can give them: a fresh start, eternal life, sins forgiven. It's not for who he is. It's for what he's done for them, what he's going to do for them. It's selfish.
Yeah. If a judge wipes away someone's debt, does he love the judge because he's just such a good person, or does he love the fact that the judge doesn't pay money anymore?
Like Janet Jackson said, "What have you done for me lately?" And this is what it's all about. Even theologians like John Piper, I think, has said this. He has a phrase for it, but he admits this. I read parts of one book one time. And maybe that's why I don't read many books, because the books I have read have been so bad, like John Piper's. But
Well, yeah, I'm not the biggest Piper fan, but he's also, I think, a Calvinist, or at least Calvinist light. And
he's Calvinist. He's not Calvinist light.
Yeah, I was talking to some people, and we kind of got to the agreement that it seems like Calvinists almost have to deny that sin exists, but because if you're going to say sin is like missing the mark from what God wants, right, or that it's going against God's design, if God ordains and designs you to have a certain nature, like, aren't you fulfilling that by being depraved, by being a good little depraved person that's fulfilling what God wants? Which
but
is
since
do
they
evil.
would say,
like, how is it even a sin?
They would say sin still exists, but God wanted sin. He created it.
Well, then how? So what does sin mean then? Is sin just anything God doesn't want?
Going against God's nature, which He wants you to do.
But wouldn't God's desire for you to do that be part of God's nature? Like, does God's nature include His desire?
No,
I
think
sin?
I think if a Calvinist came in right in now and talked to both of us, you and I could tag team and get the Calvinist to admit that God does want sin.
Yeah,
because it's clear sin exists.
Yeah, right, and that's like your ultimate problem of evil, right? Or
the
argument from non-objects is what it's called in the literature, which I think is really interesting, and it's a really interesting argument that isn't talked about that much. But
Christian hedonism. That's what John. Thanks, Floyd.
Christian hedonism.
Yeah, that's the term they use. I just call that selfishness or self-interest. But
yeah. But there were people like Alvin Plantinga who used the term felix culpa, a fortunate fall. Like, it's a good thing the fall happened because God could redeem us, you know? So in a sense, I think that you are right to say that, right? That it's better to have that. And so I would agree with that. I mean, I think that ultimately God did want some kind of fall. I don't think He wants particular evils. Like, I don't think God wanted the Holocaust to happen, but I think God wants a world in which people have the ability to bring up something like that where it could happen.
But you know what? In essence, Calvinism or non-Calvinism, you guys have the same problem. And we shouldn't even be talking about this, Caleb, because if you really understand it, you're no longer going to be a Christian. And then you're going to be messed up a far left-wing progressive because you're so touchy-feely, and then I don't want to see you go crazy.
Flag-waving phone. This is the non-Christian.
I want you to stay sane and not have all these irrational fears.
I mean... Yeah. Well, no, I think that God created the universe because I think at the end of the game, it'll be better than. So I essentially deny the premise that the best world is one where God just doesn't create, right? I think that a world in which everyone's saved in the long run is actually better than the world where it's just
good for
God
you
existing. So I would just take that horn, right? Because look, something that's perfect can always be improved upon. I don't even know what it means, because God can always make one more. You can always have one
something
extra
perfect
level
can be
of
improved upon. That's a tough one.
Or let me say has infinite potential. Something that's perfect has potential to be even better, because otherwise, if it's lacking potential, is it really perfect, right? In that particular way. But I don't know. But like, what's a perfect world? Because God can always save one more person. He can always create one more person to save. So I don't know if a perfect world even makes sense. I think there are worlds that are heading to that are potentially perfect. But
you've heard my plate analogy, right? My dinner plate analogy.
The cheesecake, and then you have like cheesecake with some stuff on it that
pigeon poop on it. You're basically saying this. You're basically saying God's presented 2 plates for dinner. One has just purity of cheesecake, beautiful cheesecake, the best perfect cheesecake in the world. And the other plate has cheesecake, that same cheesecake smothered in pigeon poop. And you're saying God would choose the pigeon poop cheesecake.
He would choose it if the pigeon poop led to like an even bigger full-size cheesecake instead of the slice, and the pigeon poop was necessary to get to that.
Okay,
yeah, God would.
This is a greater good type argument, but then you're saying that God needs this greater good to begin with, like that He needs a bigger cheesecake.
So I would say that if God's perfectly good, He wants the world that has the most value, right? And so world with God, infinite value. But if God makes people who can make good decisions, that's even more valuable, right? And so, but in order for them to make good decisions, they have to have this process of soul building and learning and more improvement. So you have to have this little side quest of evil for an eternity of even more good, right?
In order for your argument to have any chance, you have to be a universalist.
I am.
Okay.
And you're right.
Good for you.
In fact, I would go so far to say that if you're not a universalist, I don't think it would be worth it, because at best you'd be saying that God is just I mean, if you're a Calvinist, then it doesn't mean it. But at best you're just saying God's gambling, to where if God knows universalism probably won't happen, then he's sacrificing a lot of people in order to get to this greater good, right? Whereas I would say, I mean, all of these evils that we incur build up to something that's good in the long run, right? Which is since universalism. But you are right that if universalism is not true and people have to go through the Holocaust and still be damned to hell forever, or even just get annihilated, they went through evil that wasn't justified, that didn't have a greater good.
But here's another problem. If you're a universalist, you got to start asking yourself questions like, well, why did Jesus need to die on a cross? And why didn't God just create sentient beings and put them straight into heaven that he knew would choose them, and not create the ones who wouldn't choose him? And, well, no, you're a universalist, so that doesn't matter. Why go through the charade of the human suffering part, rapes, murders, natural disasters? Why not just stick them in heaven?
Well, because they get to build up on their own character, right? So they get to overcome it. Whereas if God puts them to heaven, then God gets the credit for, I mean, God gets technically partial credit either way, but at least having that freedom there where people can say, no, I overcame these trials, maybe with God helping me, but they still contributed to it, not as if God just puts them in heaven with their character to begin with, right? So in order for people to have good moral characters, like, for example, forgiveness, can't really have a world of forgiveness if there's not some kind of moral evil to precede that. So if God wants Doug to be able to learn how to forgive, it's better for Doug to learn this on his own than for God to just zap him with the power and knowledge of forgiveness, to be autonomous.
I don't understand why you would need this idea of moral character building if people are just going to end up in heaven anyhow. Like, what advantage is there?
Oh, sorry, my camera messed up. Am I upside down? Nope, I'm not. Perfect. There it is. You said, what's the benefit of moral character building rather than just creating them like that?
Yeah.
Because it's, I think it's more of like a free will autonomy thing where they get credit for it and it's on their end and not just God providing it to them. It's better.
Well, if you're a universalist, there's no free will of eternal destination. If you're born, you're going to go to heaven. So this free will thing is not an issue.
Well, it depends on how if you mean free will as in like there has to be a chance that they could never ever choose God, I don't think that that's something that really makes sense, because I don't think anyone thinks of free will as every action you do is random and has no precedent, right? Like, we have characters, we learn from mistakes, we grow wiser as we grow older, at least most of us do. So I don't think it makes sense for someone to make an infinite number of mistakes and never learn. If they have that kind of freedom, we have the freedom where we can develop and grow over time. And so over time, eventually they'll come to choose God. I don't think there's anything that's incoherent with their free will about that, right? The only way that would be a problem is if you think it's just like a random number generator and like maybe it will never land on 5. Like that's the case. But if this is one that learns, like it's an AI that learns how to do it, I don't think that's really problematic. But
so the woman who's raped, what that needed to happen for character building?
I don't think that specific. I think that needed to be an option. But so I would say it's like, if you're playing a game like with dice or cards, and every time you roll or draw a card, you get to move some. Sometimes you can move 6, sometimes you can move 1. There are better rolls. It would be better for that to not have happened. But whatever happens, you're still going to move forward a little bit. So there are goods that can.
Well, you just said it's better if it never happened.
Well, I'm saying that I think it's better for certain kinds of evils to happen, but I'm not saying that God wants this person to rape her, like, because that might take him back a few notches.
I don't think you can say that. If God created knowing the future, okay, you have to be an open theist now too, then.
I think open theism is plausible. I go between open theism and monism, but open theism I think is good too. I do think people legitimately can choose that though. So
do you agree with me that if you believe God knows the future, is not shocked about our timeline, what happens? And so if God creates the universe and then later on a rape or murder happens or 100,000 people die in a tsunami, you have to admit God wanted that.
I think, God didn't intervene in that. So I don't think God was absolutely shocked, like had just no idea, but I think God might have been like, okay, the tsunami might happen, 70% chance it's going to happen, all that stuff. And
70?
It happens, right?
That's as good as God gets.
I'm just making up I don't know. I'm making up a number. Maybe it's closer to that.
If God knows all the facts, even if you're an open theist, if God knows, he has to be at least in the high 90 percentile of prediction power. And so every bad thing that happens on the earth, God could have predicted that would happen. And he said, you know what, I'm going to create it anyhow. I'm going to create this universe anyhow, knowing that there's going to be murders and rapes and tsunamis. And he's going to say, hey, to me, it's worth it.
Yeah, I do think it is worth it to him in the end. Sure, I would say that. But I don't
Yeah.
think that God wants any particular, as in like God's like setting it up for the Holocaust to happen particularly. It could be that God sets it up and people choose things like, oh, well, if they keep doing this, it's probably going to get a Holocaust. Maybe they won't. But he just is stepping aside and doing and like, letting it happen with a certain degree of probability. I do think that's probably the case. And that God is not, he may not want it to happen as if that's not that most ideal. I'd rather roll a 6 by roll to 3, but I can still keep moving forward. It's not the best hand of cards I got, but I can still play it. So I think God can play whatever hand you give him, but there are some hands that are better, but the hands that are better or worse are sometimes out of God's hands, or at least not completely up to him. It might be shared. So it's a combination of that. But yeah, no, I think your points are good though, in terms of, I would use that as an argument against people who aren't universalists, because you do get the ideas of people going through suffering for ultimately no point. Because if you're going to say suffering draws people closer to God, well, what about all the people who are in hell forever, or at least are annihilated or something? That didn't help them draw closer to God. So I think you have to have some kind of universal reconciliation to get around that.
So you were, but I agree with people like free thinker Tyler, who says that even open theism doesn't get you, because then it becomes a little bit random or no reason. If God doesn't see the future, it's just like, at least the Calvinists can say God has some purpose that we're not aware of for all this suffering. Open theists can't really say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's funny because I think Universalists and Calvinists are actually similar, because they both think God gets what he wants in the end, that he's sovereign, right? It's just that under Calvinism, God wants those people to go to hell. They're vessels of wrath. He's getting what he wants. And Universalists say, no, God can save everyone. God does get what he wants, even if there's some hiccups in the middle there. Whereas people who are just the diehard Arminians, the free willers, say, well, God really wants everyone to be saved, but oh darn, he just gives us free will to where we can potentially reject him. And that's the cost he has to go through. And I don't think that makes sense, right? And then I would use the creation argument that you would. And in fact, the analogy I give is saying, like, imagine if you were to play a poker game with the devil, right? I know you like poker games, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
And the contest was, if you win, and let's assume this is a fair game, so there's no cheating. I don't know what the odds are, but if you win, everyone on earth will be able to have a meal, like we'll end world hunger, and every war will stop. If you lose, your children and family get sold into sexual slavery and are tortured the rest of their life. Or you can just not play the game at all and keep everything how it is currently. I would bet most people would probably not take that bet and would just refrain from even playing, right?
Yeah.
If that's the cost. So I would say that's the same thing under this idea of like hell being the analogy of the, selling your children to sex slavery, essentially. It's like, is it worth it though? Even if it's potentially there, like, is God taking a gamble at that point? And would it be?
It's interesting you bring up this analogy, because the reason why most people wouldn't take that bet is because, in my opinion, because of evolution, like, we value our own family before others. Like,
right.
We just do. And like, if you're on a boat and you can only have so and so many people, you're going to throw overboard people you don't know before your own daughter, mother, sister, whatever. That's just the way it is, the cold hard facts. But with God now, are we really his children if he's willing to sacrifice some for the betterment of everyone? Like,
yeah. That's a good point, actually.
Welcome.
That's interesting though. So if we changed that analogy to say, instead of your family, we take like 10 random orphan children and threaten to sell them, would you take the bet then, or would you still not do it? I feel like I wouldn't do it at that, even if that was the
I would
switch it out, even if it was my family.
As long as
you would take that bet,
as long as it's a painless death. Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't say it's a painless death. The thing was that if you lose, these children get tortured and sold into sexual slavery for the rest of their life. If you win,
sexual slavery.
All world wars end, all hunger ends if you win the game. Or you can just not play the game at all and not take that chance, and everything stays how it is currently. I'm betting most people would keep it how it is currently and not play the game at all. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and
but
I think that's probably what you would say.
If you're completely dead inside, that's a tough moral dilemma. No, I'm serious. Like,
yeah.
I don't think it's a no-brainer. Like, imagine 10 orphans going through sexual slavery, but then think about potentially millions and millions and millions of people not dying horrendous deaths through war.
Yeah.
Like
it's a utilitarian.
If you're dead inside, you can't just say, no, I would never put the orphans through that. Like these are what real moral dilemmas are about. And I think if you're dead inside, you have to say you got to sacrifice the 10 orphans. But
yeah, I mean, if you're just doing a head count, it would be.
But again, we're humans. We're not dead inside, unfortunately. And so it gets back to like same with we would save our own children before other people's children.
Yeah. Well, then I would ask, like, what's the ratio God's using here? Like, is God just trying to save as many people as possible? Because in that case, he's just going to keep creating forever. Or is God, is it, 60%, 70%? How many people does God really want to save here? Because if God could had to send 1,000 people to hell to save every one person, would that be worth it? I mean, this is something I would ask someone who believes in conscious torment or annihilationism. Like, what's the ratio?
Yeah, I ask the same question. I always ask how many people go to hell, how many people go to heaven, like in percentages. They don't like that question because it shows how inefficient God is. Because why does the road to destruction narrows the gate to life? Like, I think in most Calvinists' head, they think maybe 10% of the world population goes to heaven. I mean, if that's what they're truly thinking, and if that's representative of God, God's a schmuck for creating.
Right. Yeah. And plus they don't, I mean, you could say, well, 30% are Christians, but I mean, you point out like most of those are nominal Christians. We're not counting the flag waving phonies here.
Yeah,
We're counting the ones
I'm talking about true Christians
really
like Darth Dawkins.
Well, it's weird. He's not a Calvinist though. You think he would be. I think he's an Arminian from what I've been told.
He's a Calvinist. He's a closeted Calvinist. I've talked to him before about this. And he spouts for him to be a presuppositional Reformed Christian and not claim Calvinism, to me,
I know.
There's something.
Well, you kind of have to be, because they're at least consistent, because they at least hold that like the presuppositional makes sense with Calvinism, because you're so depraved you can't even think on your own. You can't even be autonomous in your thought. You need God for everything, right? So to say that we can reason to God and we don't need to presuppose him is idolatrous to them. You're saying that human reason takes precedent over God. Like, how dare you? So it's consistent. I get why they like the precept argument, but the precept is just the lazy man's approach to apologetics, where you can just say, well, you can't justify your worldview. No. And it's just I know you are, but what am I, basically?
Hey, I gotta go urinate. And then a guy named Floyd, he's a progressive left guy.
I'll hop out.
But I want you to watch, because I'm going to destroy him.
All right, I'll have fun watching. Let me know how it goes. Take care, Doug. Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, I'm gonna play this while I use the restroom here. Let's see. This is kind of boring. Should I play that? Yeah, I'll play this. Make the mythicists happy. And it's 3 minutes long. Is that Floyd? Floyd, if you're still here, I saw that you wanted to come in. Nic so Floyd has first kick at the can, and if he doesn't show up, then Nic, I'll take you. And I'll be back in 3 minutes, hopefully. We're a pastor's kid. You traveled the world preaching the gospel, and now you're an atheist who is a mythicist. Okay. I want to say something about mythicism. For all you atheists who get mad at other atheists who are mythicists, what's your problem? Who cares? I think you get mad because you think it makes you look bad because you're an atheist and they're an atheist and they don't believe Jesus ever existed as a man, and so you feel like that tarnishes you somehow. No, let that go. People can have ideas and both be Christians or atheists or whatever. If you really think about it, if you're a true atheist, not a flag-waving phony, it shouldn't make a difference whether Jesus actually existed or not. Seriously, does it make a difference? No. It's the idea of Jesus that everybody agrees about that exists. Whether he actually existed does not make a dent. Boy, that's really hard for Christians to hear. It makes a dent to Christians, but not to atheists. Like, I think people like Bart Ehrman get really upset at mythicists because, number one, it challenges his career. But number two, I think he thinks he needs to get some respect from theists, from Christians. And if you say Jesus never existed as a man, then Christians won't even talk to you. And so that's why he has to, and that could be true, but still, who really cares? Well, Bart is an actual scholar. When experts have to deal with nonsense, it probably does get tiring, like biologists dealing with creationists. When experts have to deal with nonsense, but why would experts have to deal with any of that? I mean, well, I guess if you the actual topic. Okay. 2 minutes. Wow. Who's here? Floyd. Okay. Can you hear me, Floyd? There he is. You look comfortable with your white undershirt on. I can't hear you yet. In 3, 2, 1. No, can't hear you. You've been on before, so I know you've figured it out before.
All right, can you hear me now?
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, did I answer your question before?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping you can help me with my TDS.
TDS? What syndrome is that?
Yeah.
Oh, Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I can help you with that. Stop worrying.
Yeah.
Just stop it.
Again, I don't know how anyone who understands the U.S. government system would vote for Trump. I'm bewildered. I don't understand how anyone would vote for Trump.
This is a great test.
American democracy.
This is a great test. Okay, so you're an intelligent human being, right?
Yeah, I claim to be.
Okay, you can imagine being in someone else's shoes. So now
Yes.
I want you to transform into an intelligent mega person, which you might think is a contradiction in terms. But now, Steelman, why you shouldn't worry about Trump? This is a challenge for you.
Well, I mean, I heard you. I mean, you asked a good question like a few months back. You asked, what did Trump do that personally affects you? I think you asked that question.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could ask that question about Charles Manson, right? What Charles Manson do to me that directly affects me? He killed Sharon Tate. Well, she was a 2-bit actress, it didn't affect me. I mean, is that really, legitimate way to think?
Is that the analogy you want to
Charles
make?
Manson, well, no, this is just one of my points. Charles Manson didn't directly hurt me, so we should just leave.
The point of that question is
alone?
usually people have this idea in their head that the president of the United States matters to their own personal lives, that it affects public policy in the United States. When you compare it to Charles Manson, we don't have that comparison. So, but let me ask you again. I want you to pretend you are now defending this whole idea that no, Trump's not going to be a dictator. He's not going to threaten democracy. Give me arguments why that could be true.
Well, I think that's something else we need to talk about. You talked about, well, there's a lot of
You're not
checks
going to
to
do it,
keep
are you,
Trump.
Floyd? You can't do it.
Okay, I'll play. What do you want me to do? I'll just focus on what
I've said it twice now. Are you not listening to me? I want you to steelman the other side that you disagree with. I want you to give reasons why far left progressives should not worry about Trump becoming a dictator, destroying democracy. Give reasons why that's not going to happen, probably. And I'm not asking you to agree with it. I'm just steelman it.
Yeah. So you're saying if Trump gets in the office, what's going to keep him from being a dictator? You're asking that, right?
I'm asking you to steelman the side that you disagree with.
I'm still, yeah. I'm having a block here. So
that's your problem.
You're asking. Well, okay, yeah. Well, I'm hoping you can help me out with my TDS. You're asking why MAGA supporters think what? Think that Trump won't become a dictator?
Floyd, I'm actually getting irritated by you. It's like you're purposely being stupid. You're not a stupid guy. I'm asking you to do what I asked Theist to do. Okay, Theist, still man my side why I think the universe didn't come from nothing or whatever. And well, Doug, you would say that something material has always existed, eternal past. I don't, but that's just rubbish. I'm asking you to take something you disagree with and defend it.
Okay, so you're saying you think Trump will not become a dictator because the Supreme Court and Congress and our government policies and so forth would keep him from being a dictator. Isn't I still manning your position? Because you said it earlier.
Give reasons why people shouldn't worry about Trump.
Give reasons why people should not. So that we. Okay, so if Trump gets in office again, yeah, we shouldn't worry about Trump
because
weaponizing the Justice Department and the FBI to go after his political enemies because
you can't do it, can you?
Because they have more ethics and wouldn't let Trump do that. But Trump says he wants to do that, right?
You disappoint me, Floyd. I even did it for you earlier, and I gave you reasons that you could have just parroted and repeated, but you probably weren't even listening. Floyd, you might not be a smart guy that I thought. Like, look, watch this. Watch this. MAGA people are dangerous. I mean, do you guys realize what Trump almost accomplished? He got people on January 6th to congregate and almost overthrow our democracy. Do you guys understand what he did with the fake electors? He took a lie and caused people to put signatures and almost overthrow the United States democracy. Do you realize how egotistical and narcissistic Trump is? That he would try to get rid of generals that disagreed with him? You see, Floyd, this is how you do it. You take a position that you don't agree with, and you steelman the other side. You didn't even try. In fact, I think for some people on the progressive left, their brains shut down. They can't even allow the words to come out of their mouth. Nick.
Hello, Doc. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're really loud, but I can hear you. I mean, I hear you really loudly.
Okay, I'll try to speak a little bit with a low voice.
I'll turn you down a bit here. Okay, what do you want to talk about, Nick?
Well, you've talked a lot about religion and some political stuff. I personally, I think on your political views, I agree mostly with you, but for me, I hate politics because, like, if you take a look at history, nothing worked perfectly, and everything is always prone to corruption. That's why I always try to ignore politics.
When things get corrupt, you ignore it?
No, it's like it doesn't matter what we try. It doesn't work properly.
You're a bit of a nihilist or a fatalist.
Well, in the political sense, I would say, yeah, that may be the case.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I think history shows that people try things, and on some things we get better and some things we get worse. Like, do you think are you an American? Do you live in the United States?
No, I don't. Like I know a little bit about.
What country are you in?
Because I'm in Germany.
Oh, Germany is a great example. Do you think things are better in Germany in 2023 than they were in 1940?
A little bit better, yes.
A little bit.
No, in terms of, yeah, no, economically and all, yeah, of course. And but I'd say we're still, of course, we don't have all this racist stuff anymore, thank God. But if I take
racism is solved in Germany.
Well, not completely, but
yeah.
it has taken a different form. No, I'd say the thing is, in Germany, what I myself am not a German citizen. I was just born here, and so I don't even vote. But I know the current state of the politics here. But Hitler messed up everything. Like, you know how hard it is.
He was just misunderstood.
To be a patriot. No, but really, it's like really hard to be a patriot in Germany without being called a Nazi.
You know what, Nick? What's interesting about the United States right now, that there's a lot of people who I think some of them would call themselves left-wing progressives, who are now championing Hitler in a way, like, or at least are understanding Hitler in a way. Like, we understand why he killed those Jews. Like, he got it. I mean, because look what those Jews are doing to the people in the Gaza Strip right now. There's actually people, stupid people here in the United States, who are talking and thinking that way. They're empathizing with Hitler because they hate the Jews so much. Isn't that weird?
But I think that's, yeah, of course it's weird. But like, these people are, I don't know if they're misinformed or they didn't study this stuff. It's insane. I mean, of course, I'm not saying that everything that Israel is doing is right, but they were forced into this position. And Hamas doesn't really want the good of the Palestinian people. I mean, they're just a bunch of freaking terrorists. I understand why even Netanyahu says, we're not gonna we're gonna stay there and take over the security measurements and all of that, of course, because if you leave, they're gonna send more terrorists and gonna. I mean, we have given them so much money; they could have built a second Abu Dhabi or whatever. But what did they do? Build tunnels and
yeah,
like, you know how it is. Like, it's insane. Of course, then, as I said, then you have also the stuff with the Israeli settlers. They also don't do they aren't very nice towards the Palestinians over there. It's a very hard situation. But you know what? Like, really, what really bothers me? Then you have people here that were born here, or all these freaking like refugees doing, like, demonstrating for Palestine here in Germany. It's insane. And when was it? 2015? They let everybody in without checking. You know how I think we're full here of like criminals who were, they let in without any control.
This is where feel sorry forism can really backfire. I call it feel sorry forism, which is just the idea of, oh, poor immigrants, we got to help them, But if, let's say, 5% are really bad criminals, maybe not murderers, but bad people, you got to know who they are. And if you don't have a legal process of letting people into your country, you don't know who the 95% good people and who the 5% bad people are. And it just seems like the feel sorry forism of some people overrides that 5% of we don't want. And it's just, we need to convince people.
But it's a mess.
Yeah, we need to convince people that what you're trying to do, you're trying to be compassionate to your fellow man. Great. But in order to be compassionate to your fellow man, you have to acknowledge the truth that some people are not good people, and we do not want them in your country or our country. And so we need a very orderly legal process of one at a time background checks before we let people into the country.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like, it's not like 5% of them are bad. It's the other way around.
You think it's 95%
we know
bad?
over here. Oh, yeah, of course.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I'm talking about here in Europe. I don't know how it is over there in the United States.
But if you're right, 95% bad, then Germany's going to go downhill very quickly.
I think in like 10, 15 years, there might be a danger of something like a civil war. Because these people really that are here, they're not really thankful of us, like I won't say us, but of the politics over here. They're using it for their own benefits, and they do nothing. They don't go to work. They don't do, like, it's terrible over here. I'm even thinking of emigrating. Like, but the thing
where would you go?
Should I go? Yeah, that's the thing. What country can offer me what like Central Europe, Northern Europe does?
Well, what did they offer you that you like?
Well, healthcare and like a good living standard, and yeah.
What do you do for a living?
I think all these options. I'm currently studying.
Oh, you're a student.
Yeah, but I used to work. I did an apprenticeship.
Yeah, see, I'm not convinced that universal healthcare is the best way to go.
Okay, that's okay. If I take a look, I don't know. I'm always scared. Imagine you have an accident, and then you don't have an insurance, and then you have to pay, like, I don't know, $100,000 or euros back.
Okay, first
It's
of all,
impossible.
I'm for personal responsibility. So if you have an accident and you're not insured, why aren't you insured?
Oh no, of course, yeah, that's of course, then it's your fault, yeah. But what if you, I don't know, get sick, cancer or something, and all these treatments? They also cost a lot of money.
Yeah, I understand, but you can get catastrophic insurance very cheap in the United States. Most people don't realize this, but because most people work for other people, most Democrats work for Republicans, and then they get the Republicans to provide the insurance for them. Actually, I don't know if it's most, but I bet you it's over 50%. And so, but if, like, I'm a self-employed guy, and so I have catastrophic insurance. So if a bill comes in for millions of dollars, my insurance provider will pay for it. But if the bill is like $40,000, I pay for it.
Yeah, that's still a lot, 40,000.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, if you have a good income, you can pay it off in a couple of years.
Well, even actually, that's not quite true. It's probably my out-of-pocket max per person in my family, I think, is 14,000. So yeah, it's 14,000. I got that on me. But a lot of people don't, right? So that's the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. And for me,
actually, one thing that Obama did,
pay for the medicine.
See, I lean right, but I can give credit where credit is due. One great thing about Obamacare was having kids stay on their parents' plan longer. I think to age 26 or something like that. Great idea.
Yeah, that's how it works over here. Not until 25, and then you pay for your own insurance.
Okay, now Nick, I want to. You contradicted yourself here, and you didn't even realize it. Should I expose you?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the very first things you said when you came on here is you don't like talking about politics. And what have we done for the past 10 minutes?
We talked about it, but
and are you having fun?
It's part of it. No, it's a nice combo. But I think, like, what I meant was, it doesn't matter what political system you use. There is, like, always this necessary evil that is there.
Yeah, I'm not as cynical as you. I know a lot of people might view me as cynical, but I do think that conversations matter, and conversations with people you disagree with matter even more. And I do think that our society, at least in the United States, is better than it was during the Cold War, during the World War I and II, in the 1800s. We no longer have slavery. Women can vote. Civil War. I mean, as bad as people want to make our society look today, it's still way better than it was. And it's because of conversations of give and take, compromises, people learning from past mistakes.
But like, if I take a look at the United States, and I remember when Trump was the president, every day in the news here in Germany, we saw Trump. He was always criticized. I'm like, how? And you're asking yourself, this Trump guy is such a narcissist. How could they vote him? And the thing is, you only have like the Republicans and the Democrats. And I'm like, wow, like you only have these two parties to choose from. It's I think they're the
yeah, we don't have the parliamentary system here.
Yeah, which yeah, of course, the parliamentary system also, like what we have right now in Germany is a catastrophe. But look, I'm an Italian, and they voted for a right wing party, and Meloni is right wing, but nothing changed. Absolutely nothing changed.
Well, that's true. I agree with you there, that in the sense that people have this misconception that the president has so much control over the day-to-day lives of the citizens. In some cases, yes, like there's some executive orders, but for the most part, no. It's like the president really doesn't change much on what really matters to most citizens. Usually it's more local governments that have more impact. Like your schools, like if you're a parent. So anyhow, Nick, it was fun talking to a German.
Well, okay. Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, take care. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Don't bother calling back, Floyd. I gave you 3 chances. All you want to do is come on and talk about Trump bad, Trump bad. You're not going to get over your syndrome until you can actually start thinking. Tough love. Admiral. You're Admiral von Strapp?
Pardon?
Another German.
No, I'm not German, but I'm close to Germany.
Let me guess. You got to talk more for me to guess.
I like your channel. I like your hair, although it's pretty
sparse. Well, my hair's like gold. It's it's more valuable because it's very sparse. I give up. Where are you from?
I'm from the Netherlands.
Oh, I got ancestors from there.
Oh, really? Where?
Well, I don't know exactly.
Do you know which province? Oh, okay.
No. I mean, when I say ancestors, I mean I'm going back to the 15th century or something. Like, apparently, like Mennonites are pretty good with their lineage, and my ancestors, I think, originated in the Holland area, and then went to Germany, and then Prussia, and then Russia, and then Canada.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you the following. What do you think of Sharia law?
Sucks.
Because you had like that one Russian dude, the Russian Muslim dude. What was his name again? EDS? IDS? I don't know his name.
I call him Elias, but I think it's Ilias.
Yeah, he's a funny character. But like, you agree with like, conservative right values. What do you think of Sharia law, even though you think it sucks? Like, do you think certain aspects within the system make sense? I'm not a Muslim, by the way. Like, just pointing that out.
I would say my biggest complaint against Sharia law is, number one, it's not based on a democracy. I think civilization's government should be a democratic one. But that being said, I do not say businesses should be democratic. I'm against democracy in business. I think like people should be able to create a business, hire people, and tell those people, no, this is my business. Shut up. If you don't like working here, leave. And so I don't think they should get a vote. But when it comes to governments, yeah. What's my other? So that's my biggest problem with Sharia law. Well, that tied in that it's based on a premise that I think is false, that a God exists, and this God wants you to do certain things. And I think that's very dangerous because that leads people to think that they have more oomph, more gravitas than they ought to. Whereas a secular democracy would be more humble, and that, hey, we're fallible human beings, we make mistakes, maybe we should try this, and then admit if it doesn't work or not. With Sharia law, none of that applies. It's like, no, God said this, do this, case closed, don't question it.
I agree with that to an extent, I think. I do agree within the Sharia system, you have the issue of, like it's an exclusive system. Like Muslims rule the land, Muslims are a part of the government, Jews and Christians and non-Muslims are secondary citizens, right?
Some Muslims wouldn't phrase it that way, but yeah.
Wait, can you still hear me? I think I'm cutting off.
No, I can hear you. So why are you asking about Sharia law?
You know what it is, Doc? I show your life, and I was like, I'm bored, so let me just call this guy. And I want to know a couple of things, Oh, you got a smile again. I like your smile.
Don't make me blush.
Oh. No, but I don't know. I just want to know your opinions on this stuff. Because, like, whenever I watch your channel, you're always very good at, like, dissecting Christian things and, like, Christianity. But when it comes down to Islam, you're a little bit lacking. And it makes sense because you were grown up in the Christian sphere. So,
Yeah,
Islam
is basically nothing in North America.
Really?
Yeah.
Like don't you? I thought
it's 1.6% or something in the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's that small.
Yeah.
Oh, damn! I thought there were more Muslims in America.
I can fact check myself here, but I think what I said. How many Muslims in the U.S.? I guess 1.6%. Oh, it's 1%.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Oh, that's small.
So practically, I'm not scared of Islam. For the Americans, I understand in Europe it's much different. But let me do what I asked Floyd to do, because I asked Floyd to steelman the other side. The good part about Sharia is that there is a risk in secular humanism of this feel sorry forism, that where you actually can't even identify and acknowledge problems and then to try to solve it. Like, for example, in the United States, I do believe there's a problem with some people within the African community when it comes to raising, valuing families, valuing education. Some, not all. In fact, I'd say it's still the minority, but we have to acknowledge that some cultures or subcultures are bad. And a lot of people in secular humanism are not unwilling to go there because of past grievances and historical problems. But that's no excuse to accept what I would call bad behavior, like fathers not being in the home. Sharia law is pretty strong on stuff like that fathers do need to be in the home. Even things like what we see in California right now with, even though the governor there wants to crack down on it, we're really seeing rampant forgetting about the law, people stealing things, going into stores, not prosecuting theft. Sharia law would not put up with that.
But then again, we would have the issue of Sharia law allowing, for example, Muhammad being the main role model for all Muslims to follow, and that man married a 9-year-old girl.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. There's good and there's bad. I'm talking I'm trying to make Sharia law look good right now by saying that.
Yeah. Okay.
That there's certain things that are happening in the U.S. right now that if we were under Sharia law would not be happening, that most people would agree with are bad, like taking of private property. Like you cut off the pinky on the left hand of every person who goes into a Walgreens and steals even $20 worth of something. And so now they're branded. Whenever you look at someone's left hand, you see the pinky gone, you know they're a thief.
Would you be in favor of that, though? Like, be honest.
A part of me resonates with that. I get so angry. I have to work on being dead inside. I even get angry when I showed a clip earlier of a young woman stealing a guy's tip money who was doing nothing but playing music. That bothers me. And so part of me resonates with that. But when I get control of my emotions and think irrationally, no, do we really want a society where we're chopping people's fingers off? I still lean no. But a part of me says, yeah, let's do it, baby. I mean, enough is enough.
I agree with you, but like that's always what Muslims tell me. Like if we had a society wherein Sharia law was implemented, if we cut off every single person's hand if they stole, we would have a society without, crime.
Yes.
But then
then you gotta support them because they can't.
Right? Even that, but I tell Muslims the following: like if you I don't want to sound as a guy who knows a lot, but like I know some stuff about Islamic history, and if you read the early history of Islam, and the companions of Muhammad even got flogged and their hands got cut off whilst Sharia was still a thing. So if you show them that seems like that shows to them that really, even if we have Sharia law, people would still steal. Like even the man who they praise, the companions, according to Muslims, are the greatest men. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I find that an issue with Muslims.
What do you think about the Palestinian Israel thing going on right now? The war. What's your view? Are you a singer, by the way?
Oh no, why?
You would have a beautiful baritone voice. I'm imagining you as a singer in The Lion King.
Oh damn. Oh, that would be fun. No, you're one of the many few who say that I have a good voice. At school, everybody thinks I sound like a pedophile, but yeah. One girl even called me a creep, but that's besides the point, I think.
No, I think you should try singing. I think you would have a beautiful voice, but not right now.
My voice sounds very different.
Yeah. Okay.
No, of course not. But
back to the slaughter of the Palestinians. What's your view?
Yeah, I don't have any knowledge on, I don't really pick a side. The only thing I always say is I'm against I'm against harming civilians. I keep it very low. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a bummer, right, for you because I oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. If is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I can see on your face, I'm the type of dude. I want to actually play a theist. I want to play a theist role. I want to see how you would handle me if I was a theist.
Okay. Hang on a second.
Oh.
There. Okay, I just tied half my brain behind my back. Go ahead.
Great. All right. So, Muslims always tell me the following about, Muhammad marrying Aisha when she was 9. And they try to justify it with the idea that she was actually mature for her age. She was, she was mature for her age. And the environment at the time made her already very mature. Of course, I respond to that, but I want to know, what would you say to that? I'm interested.
I would say, okay, she's mature for her age. Now what?
No, then they would justify it. They would say, okay,
justify what?
Okay thing. They would justify it because she's mature. So it's
justify what?
Him and her, having coitus.
Oh.
Yes. Boobity bum bum.
Okay. I would, I guess, appeal to, you said you're a student? I would appeal to, if you're a father, and say, hey, would you want your very, very mature 9-year-old to sleep with a 50-year-old? And you would say, you would leave. He left. Yeah, half my brain. Oh, my favorite Muslim. My favorite Russian Muslim, who's probably not Russian nor Muslim, but just a good actor.
Oh, really?
Doesn't matter if that's true or not, because I mean, I'm having fun no matter what. Okay, what did you want to say?
Well, I like listened to like last 3 minutes. What's the issue with Sharia again?
Oh,
your issue.
Yeah, my issue is that a God doesn't exist. Number one.
No. If God doesn't exist, it still doesn't prove why Sharia is not the best political system.
Oh, okay. Very good. Excellent point. The problem with Sharia is that people believe God exists, and so they view Sharia law as something so special because they believe God exists that it gives them this extra confidence and oomph, even though we're fallible human beings and make mistakes. But they would say, no, the Sharia law has no mistakes in it. And once you have that high degree of confidence, it becomes very dangerous when you're indeed wrong about a certain issue.
PineCreek. Where would you rather live, Tom?
Hey, hang on. Respond to what I just said. Isn't what I just said very reasonable?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. First of all, it's irrelevant. Like just because people believe that something exists, while in fact it doesn't exist, it makes absolutely no difference, right? We're talking about efficiency, about practicality, about
right. No, I am too. I am too. Practicality. So you said it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Okay, let's say I was highly, highly, highly confident. In fact, I said, there's no way I'm wrong that you're a pedophile deserving of death. Okay? And I convince all my friends, no, there's no question. Elias, you're a pedophile and you're worthy of death, and so we find you and we kill you. And let's say let's say you're not a pedophile. This is how I view Sharia law. People are so confident.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about when people are so confident and yet wrong, it's very dangerous because now we've killed.
Give me a specific example of where they are wrong.
Well, I just gave you one. Let's say we have a situation where someone, Sharia law says you should chop off a hand for stealing. I don't know if Sharia law even says that, does it?
Yes, it does. Yes, chop hands for theft, yes.
Okay. The problem with that I see is that if you make a mistake and you cut off the hand of someone who's not a thief, even if they've had a trial and everything, humans are fallible, right?
This is why you need to have witnesses.
Witnesses are fallible.
Exactly, and we test the witnesses. The witness system.
The testing of witnesses is fallible.
No, it's not, because if your witnesses like are really religious, super fundamentalist Muslims, right? That they would never lie. They would never lie. Just because they're indoctrinated, believing that if you lie, you're gonna go to hell, right? This fear of hell, it won't make them.
Elias, I like you, but nobody's going to take you seriously when you make the statement that a true Muslim would never lie.
PineCreek, at the end of the day, where would you rather live? Tell me, USA or Qatar? Come on, be honest. Where would you rather live?
USA.
United States. What? Are you out of your mind? You would live in a country where you go to school and your children get shot? You would live in a country where there are drag queens in schools? That like this is the country where you're gonna live? You live in a country where there is Detroit? You live in Detroit. You would like to live in Detroit, right? You think Detroit is an amazing place. You think California
if it's between Qatar and certain parts of Detroit, then I would choose Qatar.
No, America on average is one of the most unsafe places on the planet Earth. While Muslim countries, Sharia countries, right?
Where I live is very safe. Where I live is very safe.
Well, where you live, maybe you live in some village with like 10 people living in it, right? But
No. I live in a big city with 1 million people, but I live in a suburb that's gated. We hired some Russians to protect us. I mean, we're fine.
There are no Russians in USA. Here's a secret for you. Anybody in USA anybody who lives in USA and identifies as a Russian, 99% he's Jewish. The other 1% he's probably from Baltic states or from Caucasus. Right? This is the Russian thing here. Okay?
What's your opinion about Russians who are Jewish?
Well, they are Jewish. they're quite bad, man. Oh, by the way, Russian Jews, one of the worst people you will ever meet.
What are you saying?
These people.
I played poker last night with, I think, 3 or 4 Russian Jews, and I love them.
You know, the problem is that
I don't love them. I like them.
They combine the worst parts of Russian culture and Jewish culture, and then they migrate to Israel to occupy Palestinian lands, and they vote for radicals there, right? Because in Russia we never have moderates in
But
Russia.
they're
We only
very,
vote for
very
radical
smart.
left.
They're very smart.
Jews very smart. While seeing what's going on in Palestine, do you think it's smart? I don't think it's smart. But back to the point, back to the Sharia point, right? Like, listen, USA is known for crime, for gangsters, for selling crack, for all those Al Capone, mafia. Like, what are we talking about? Have you ever heard about Qatari mafia? Have you ever heard about mafia in Amman, for example? Like, this is ridiculous.
Hey, Elias,
You
I
saying that you-
agree that there's a lot of shenanigans, a lot of bad stuff that happens in the United States. But where I live, like if a guy comes into a grocery store and starts stealing stuff, where I live, there's cowboys with guns on their hips, and they will shoot them.
Well, you can find safe places even in sub-Saharan Africa. It doesn't prove that sub-Saharan Africa is a safe place for you to live. I'm talking about general, on average. Sharia countries are the best. Those Gulf countries, they are the best.
What percentage of the
Do
United
you know that?
What percentage of the United States do you think are murderers?
Well, all of them probably. The Americans are unstable people. They're just psychotic.
What
Like,
percentage of the United
who
States actually commit murder?
100%, 100%. Look who you elect as presidents: Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, that was laughing at the sufferings of Libyans. Right? Look who you elect. These are the people who work for.
Elias,
their
thank you for
government.
making me smile, but I gotta let you go. I got some other people.
You are
now.
insane. You are insane. You are delusional, PineCreek. Absolutely delusional. You are so detached from reality, right? You live in some, I don't know, La La Land or something. This is embarrassing for you.
You know, you're saying these words to me, but yet they don't impact me. I wonder why. Hey, I talked to you the other day.
Oh, hey, what's going on, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I remember you.
Oh, hey, how's it going, bro? Oh, I was just trying to get on my laptop for this. But how you been?
I've been really good. Yeah, I got some good news yesterday.
Oh, sweet, sweet. Is there someone else on here or no? Or did that other guy leave?
It's just me and you. He left.
Oh, okay, okay. So I was wondering if you could answer me on this, okay?
Okay.
So you're an atheist, right?
Yep.
So what do you believe sin is, if you don't mind me asking?
Sin is a made-up concept of people who believe that God exists that goes against the nature of that God.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
What if I told you that sin is transgression of the law?
Yeah, God's law.
Yeah, he has a it's an actual like biblical term and all that. But
Yeah,
no, I
it's
would
missing
say
the mark,
trans-
actually. In the Hebrew, it means missing the mark.
Oh, okay. So you don't believe in sin whatsoever?
Correct, because it's impossible to believe in sin if you don't believe a God exists, because sin, by definition, is the transgression against a God.
Okay. I was just wondering your stance on sin because
Okay, but that,
I'm a Christian.
But that shouldn't be confused with, like, ask me if evil happens.
Well, yeah. Well, honestly.
Yeah, evil happens. Do bad things happen?
Yes, God
yeah,
created all things.
Bad things happen. No, my point is that I, as an atheist, can say sin does not exist. I am not saying that evil and bad things don't happen. Then you'll ask me things like, well, how do you know what's bad and what's evil? And I'd say it's against a standard. We all have standards. What standard do you use, Doug? And I'll say things like unnecessary suffering, net well-being, stuff, concepts like that, even moral intuitions that we evolved with. And you would say, well, so what? I mean, then we'll just argue about morality for about an hour.
No, I'm not trying to argue about morality. I was just wondering what your stance was on sin is all.
Well, what did you expect me to say?
Honestly, I honestly expected a little more. I thought you'd at least have be like, oh yeah, we all sin or something like that. That's what usual people say.
Whoa. You would expect an atheist to say we all sin?
I've heard a lot of atheists say that, actually.
Hey, let me tell you a little secret. Those atheists are stupid. Any atheist who says we all sin is stupid as a pile of bricks.
Okay, I agree with you. You know why?
Why?
Because that's how I believe other Christians to be, okay? If you want the truth, because there's a lot of Christians that claim to sin, but they don't know righteousness if it hit them out the top of their head.
So you
Because
think you're a true Christian, right?
A true Christian? What do you mean by that?
A real one.
I
Like
believe
you're not a flag waving phony like these other Christians that you're describing.
No, I'm not. I'm not a flag phony. I'm not gonna hold myself to higher standards than everybody. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, you're going to hell because you smoke cigarettes. You're gay or whatever." No, I'm not like that.
I really hate gays that smoke cigarettes.
Okay.
I mean, it's like they have this lisp and then it's just very unattractive.
Okay, I understand, but only God can judge, though. That's what I believe.
No. I can judge too.
Okay, sure you could judge, but is
Yeah.
it righteous?
Yeah, darn well it is righteous. My judgment is very righteous.
Okay, because I just don't believe that people who it probably doesn't apply to you because you don't believe, okay? But when it comes to other believers, I'll call them false believers, okay?
Yeah. No,
Okay,
call them
when it
flag
comes
waving phonies. It sounds better.
Yeah.
It just rolls off the lips. Flag waving phony.
Yeah, okay. When all these phonies, they claim they sin, the Bible specifically says if you follow the law and transgress at one point, you are guilty of all. That's what it says in James 2:10. So my point is, if you recognize that you sin, then you're not saved. If you sin tomorrow, you're not saved. That's just what I'm trying to say, what?
Do you abide in Christ?
Yes, I do. He's my king.
Do you sin?
Do I sin? No. True believers cannot sin.
Ah, good answer.
No, it's impossible. I have the Bible scriptures to back that up.
I got it up. Look at my screen. I got it up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't. I'm on the app.
Yeah. 1 John 3:6.
1 John 3:6. Oh, you're going to that one?
Well,
right
there's
away.
others.
God damn.
Yeah. You're not talking to a rookie here.
Oh yeah, you already talked to the preacher.
I'm more of a true Christian as an atheist than all these flag waving phonies. Yeah, you answered correctly. If you abide in Christ, you do not sin.
Yeah, whosoever. Yeah, and it says.
If I looked at your browser history, what would I see?
Probably me asking stupid questions and a lot of porn.
Oh, you do watch porn?
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah. But
it's not.
You abide in Christ. I don't.
Yeah, I know, but hey, I'm not accusing you of being of the devil or whatever.
So let me get this
Just watch
straight.
porn.
You can watch porn and not sin.
Yeah. That's what I believe, personally.
Can you murder and not sin?
You can be forgiven for it. I mean,
No.
for a long time.
You said you abide in Christ and you do not sin. So when you
No, I
watch
cannot
porn,
sin.
are you sinning?
No.
If you murder someone, are you sinning?
No.
If you rape a woman, are you sinning, or a man?
Oh God, why you gotta go there? That's a little too, we're going to the extremes, are we?
Well, I'm just listing some things that God doesn't like, right? And doesn't want.
Well, yeah, under the Old Testament, those things would put you under the death, especially if you were under the law, the Mosaic law specifically.
I just find it really interesting to hear Christians say, I can murder and not sin while I'm doing it.
I don't murder. I've never murdered anybody in my life.
I know, but if you were
never
to,
going to.
you're not. So explain this to me. Is murder a sin?
For a true believer, no. For a true believer, because Jesus reconciled it, man. Jesus forgives all, man. That's why he went on the
You're
cross.
creating Muslims right now. I mean, like if there's Christians listening and they go, I'd rather be a Muslim than your type of Christianity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, they can read the Book of Lies all they want, man, aka the Quran, but it's not going to change the truth.
Like, what if?
I mean, what came
like-
first, the Bible or the Quran?
The Bible. What came first, the Bible or the Hindu Vedas?
The Hindu Vedas.
There you go. So what's your point then?
Oh, I'll be fair with you, but at the same time, Muhammad, he used the Bible to pervert the truth. Jesus is in the Quran.
Jesus used the Old Testament to pervert the truth.
No, he did not.
Yes, he
That's
did.
because he was that's because he was prophesied in the Old Testament.
Really?
Yes, many times. He was prophesied as the King of Kings. Do you remember when Abraham was going to sacrifice his son on that
Isaac.
altar?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
he was
there.
Gonna sacrifice altar.
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't there. I mean, but it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
But no, he was about to do it, and God stopped him.
And that's
Because you know why?
Because it was that symbol of Jesus somehow. Let me guess.
He was yes, because he prophesied Jesus. God told him, don't sacrifice your own son, for I shall sacrifice my own.
You know what? You can read the New Testament and then read Old Testament stuff and see Jesus in almost anything you want. Have you heard the joke about? Well, you answer this. What is small, furry, has a very bushy tail?
I hope you don't hate me after this.
No, I
I'll
don't
go
hate
try
you.
to-
But
Okay, good.
what is small, furry, has a bushy tail and stores nuts in its mouth?
A squirrel.
Well, it sure sounds like a squirrel, but the answer is Jesus. Because this is what you're doing. Anything in the Old Testament that could possibly point to Jesus, you use it to point to Jesus.
Well, yeah, because you can't believe in the old. You can't just say, "Oh, I believe in the New Testament, but not the Old," because Jesus read the Old Testament.
How do you know?
It'd be pretty hypocritical. I would say it's pretty hypocritical
Why would
not to read both.
Why would Jesus need to read the Old Testament if he's God?
Well, I mean, come on, he
knew it
he's
already,
God.
right?
I mean, yeah,
He memorized
yeah,
it.
yeah. He memorized it all. He was a rabbi. You know, Jesus was a rabbi, right?
True or false? The resurrection of Jesus is prophesied in the Old Testament.
True.
Really?
True. That was the point I was making when Abraham tried to sacrifice his
Okay.
son.
Show
God
me.
prophesied that. Okay.
Okay. Let me be more specific. Is there anywhere in the Old Testament where it says the Messiah will die and rise again bodily?
Yes, and Jesus did do that.
Okay, where is it prophesied in the Old Testament that that the Messiah would die and rise again bodily? I'll wait.
I'm sorry. But no. I'm saying, man, it's it. I mean, you obviously know the story of Isaac and Abraham.
Does the story of Isaac and Abraham clearly say that the Messiah will die and rise again bodily? Does Isaiah 53 say that the Messiah will die and rise bodily? Does Psalm 22 say the Messiah will die and rise bodily? Does Daniel 9, Daniel 11 say that the Messiah will die and rise bodily? The answer to all these questions is no.
What about kings? They prophesied Jesus as the king.
That was my question. My question is, and I disagree with that, but my question is there anywhere in the Old Testament where it says that the Messiah will die and rise bodily? And the correct answer is no.
Well,
Now
that's because Jesus wasn't alive then.
It's a prophecy. It's a
Yeah,
prophecy.
he was prophesied. He was prophesied for many years, dude. Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark even prophesied him, dude. Noah prophesied him, dude.
The Noah Ark story prophesied the Messiah would die and rise again?
Yeah.
Does the Noah Ark prophesy that there would even be a Messiah named Jesus who would die under Pilate?
Well, they didn't know they didn't know they weren't given specifics. They just knew that somebody
They didn't
was
know
gonna, if there
specifics.
was,
They just knew generalities. So you're saying prophecies are just very general?
do I say prophecies are very general? I would say they're general in the Bible from a biblical standpoint. And I believe that there are many prophecies. There have been many prophecies that prove the Bible is true.
Okay, so I know you're going to disagree with what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it, and you're free to disagree with it. But my take is that the New Testament authors used the stories in the Old Testament to create a narrative about Jesus. That they took some of the things like Jonah being in the whale for 3 days, to maybe have this idea of Jesus being in the belly of the ground or in Hades for 3 days. They took the Isaiah 53, Psalm 22 with the idea of lions clenching people's hands to be the nails would be pierced in his hands. They took all these things to create this narrative. They knew the scriptures well, the New Testament authors. And so basically, from my perspective, most of the things could be completely fiction, and you would still have the New Testament as you have it today with these ideas.
But let me ask you, who wrote the New Testament?
We don't know for most of it, but
I do.
We know Paul.
It's already known.
We know. Oh, God. Oh, sorry. God did it. Sorry.
No, not God.
No,
his disciples, the people that were around Jesus, his 12 disciples, man.
His 12 disciples wrote it?
Yes, they did, Matt.
Even
yes,
Judas?
They did, man. Judas, he committed suicide. Well, there was a Jew.
Okay,
but,
so you meant 11 then.
There's 2 Jews. No, there's 12. Well, there was 13.
Well, Judas was replaced, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Judas was replaced, but there was another one named Jude who wrote who pretty much wrote before Revelations.
This is interesting.
So yeah, they wrote the Bible.
So who wrote the Gospel of Mark?
Who wrote the Gospel of Mark?
Yeah. It has to be one of the 12 disciples, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay, which one of the 12 actually wrote the Gospel of Mark? There's Christians listening to you right now and just shaking your hand. They're saying, hey, get your fat ass out of here. You're making us look bad.
Fuck them. They're of the devil.
But answer my question.
It was Matthew and Luke. Matthew and Luke wrote them.
Matthew and Luke wrote Mark?
Yeah. Actually, there's multiple. Okay, like for example, Paul. They won't mention him a lot, but you know the book Romans, right?
Yeah.
You know he wrote Romans, right?
Yeah.
It was either him or Peter, but it's not named after them. I mean, the disciples, they wrote, some of them wrote more than one book.
Yeah.
And all the books were put together, and that's how the New Testament came about. And it was, yeah, and notice how a lot of people started following it, man.
Do you remember at least Paul, at least in some of his books, says, I, Paul, a disciple of Christ, or something like that. Not a disciple, apostle. He actually identifies himself. Right?
Identify. Well, actually, he didn't believe. He didn't believe before. I'm sorry, Peter. I'm sorry.
Focus on what I'm saying. I'm saying that Paul, in some of his letters, if not all of them, identifies himself as the author of the letter. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do the Gospels do that?
Yes. Yes. In the beginning of most of them, they are written by, or they're named after them. Like James, he wrote 2 books, right?
I said James is not a gospel.
Well, yes, it is. James is a book in the Bible. Actually, 2. James 1 and James 2. I'm sorry. Am I saying something fucked
How
up?
many gospels are in the New Testament?
How many? I don't know the exact numbers, but it's from Matthew all the way to Revelations. I mean, honestly, if you were to ask me to get a believer to read the Bible, I would tell them to start with the New Testament and then read the Old Testament to have a better understanding of who.
How many
Jesus
books are in the
was.
Bible?
Man, I don't know off the top of my head. Okay.
66. How many books are in the New Testament?
I don't know off the top.
27. How many Gospels are there? The answer's
Damn,
4.
You are testing me today, huh?
The answer's, I know the Bible better than, I mean, you're not even close. I mean, you would fail grade 1 Sunday school.
I mean, hey. At
I mean-
at least I'm trying to. I mean, I read every day.
At least you're trying.
My best.
Thanks for calling.
I'm trying to be a good Christian. That's what all I'm trying to do.
Well,
I may not have
motives
all
mean
the
everything. I mean, intentions are good. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, no
ass.
problem. You have a great day.
Is this S.J. Thomason? No, this is a different S.J. Oh, we're 50-50 on the poll. SJ's catching up. Hi, SJ.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. You look familiar to me.
Yeah, I've been on several times.
Oh, yeah. Your hair's longer, though.
Yeah, I've been growing it out, so.
Yeah, you're an atheist, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you will never guess where I'm at. I'm at church.
Oh, maybe you should get some Christians to come out and talk to me.
Oh, no way.
Why?
They don't know. They don't know who I am. They don't know about me. I'm covert. I'm a covert operative, you know what I mean? But
don't tell me you're there with a girl. Don't tell me.
No, I play bass. I play bass.
Okay.
I'm still a church musician, but one of those rebellious musicians,
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of know how that is. You're a saxophone player, right?
Yeah, I used to be.
Used to be.
Yeah.
Hey. Anyways, so I kind of. What's up?
How many books are in the Bible?
66, or
that is correct.
Is that all together?
That's in the Protestant Bible. Yeah. See, everybody, this is a atheist, a former Christian. How many? Do you know how many Gospels there are?
3 or 4.
4. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the final question: how many books in the New Testament?
See, this is the one. Okay, I'm gonna go with. Oh, okay. So, let me give me a second. I know the answer. There's 27.
Yes. Yeah. See, you're better than the other Christian who didn't know the basic facts.
Okay.
But you're not a Christian. You're an atheist now. So.
No, I mean, some could argue it's because I know about the Bible.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, what did you want to ask me?
So, anyways, so I was wanting to see, basically about your opinion on, I have a brother. Well, actually, I have 2 brothers. One of them has recently left for similar reasons, but slightly different. And I have another brother, and he left on his own accord, not because I convinced him or whatever. You know what I mean? We kind of had a similar experience, but separately, and then we kind of found out we had the same internal thought process going on later on down the line.
What's your question? What's your question? What's your question?
So I have a younger brother who's very well established still in the church.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to get him out of it. You know what I mean? And I also don't want to be the reason he leaves.
SJ, you got to tell me your
what I
question. Ask me your question. You got a younger brother. What do you want to know?
How do I I just want to know your opinion on how to approach subjects like that, with him, because I'm not trying to necessarily lead him astray.
Okay, here's my answer. Don't.
Outside, yeah.
Don't. Just leave him alone.
If he asks me questions, what do you recommend me to do?
Oh, if he asks you questions, answer honestly in under 10 seconds, and that's it.
Okay.
So if he asks you a question like, why don't you believe anymore? say something like, I don't believe the evidence matches the claim. What was that, 3 seconds?
Okay. Yeah.
If that's indeed your
I didn't want.
answer.
Yeah. Okay. Just like short, and don't like get into too deep unless
Yeah.
he really wants to.
Don't go deep unless force him to ask good questions to get you deep, and just answer sincerely, honestly, and but don't try to do anything to him back. Just let him ask.
All right. Cool. Yeah, that's basically it. I just wanted to get your take.
And
on
appreciate your brother and love your brother. If you're going to love any other man in the world,
Absolutely,
it's
yeah.
going to be your brother, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for talking.
Okay. See ya. That was an atheist calling from church. Infiltrating. Great. This what I just said is great advice to husbands too, with believing wives. Don't try to deconvert your wife. If your wife has questions, she'll ask you. Answer honestly, to the point. And if she allows you to ask questions back, then great, you can ask questions back. But room's open. Oh, Heidi's back. Poor Heidi. Doug knows the truth. Japheth. Okay, Japheth, I'm going to let you on, but you got to talk slowly, because I've gotten comments that people can't understand your accent when you speak quickly. So I need you to talk like a Texan. You say, well, hello there, pilgrims.
Hello.
Did you get my message? You got to talk slowly.
All right.
Because people can't understand your... I can understand you because I speak gibberish too, but... What did you want to say?
Let me try to improve on his answer, the previous Christian.
Okay.
I believe a believer will be given the privilege of legal immunity. I will use that term, but it is conditional. So if you are sincerely walking with God, God gives you legal immunity. So in that sense...
Oh, you're talking about the sin thing. You're talking about that true Christians can't sin. That's what you're talking about now,
you can
right?
make you can make mistake, but it is not counted if it's like God giving you a legal immunity. That's the concept.
On earth or...
And it's conditional.
On earth or in heaven?
On the divine legal immunity, not the civil law. On earth.
Okay.
So it's conditional on the sincerity.
So you're saying that you can murder as a true Christian, and you have, in God's eyes, immunity from that being called sin.
No, not if you intentionally murdered, your immunity will be taken away. But I mean,
that's what murder is.
The daily, I don't think a true Christian would have that desire. So by the time you really act on it, God will remove the immunity.
Japheth, do true Christians make mistakes? Yes.
Yes.
Can true Christians murder? Yes.
Kill if you're a soldier in an army.
No, I'm not talking about a soldier. I'm talking about a man comes home from work. He's a true Christian. He catches his wife in bed with another man, takes out his shotgun, and kills the other man. Now, it's not premeditated murder, but it's still murder.
I don't believe he is, but maybe God, you have to have a special arrangement with God. I don't believe he is.
So
he's not a believer in my eye.
Like, don't give me this that a true Christian would never do A, B, or C. You're saying a true Christian can murder, can rape, can steal, and in God's eyes, they're not sinning. They have legal immunity.
Okay, when I say sin with condition, I mean I'm talking about the small, the things that people stumble normal people stumble
Oh, just the
about.
small stuff you're talking about.
Yes.
So there's small sins and there's big sins, and God doesn't let the big sins pass with legal immunity, but the small ones he does.
Well, if you commit a big sin, you need to have a lot of bargaining with God. Like after David committed murder against Bathsheba's husband, you will have that kind of bargaining with God, but it's not easy. I don't want.
Okay, so you can have legal immunity, but you can also bargain the sentence, or
yes, bargain. That's what happened with David. Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is a really shitty situation because
you know how
David
God put justice on that situation? Didn't he kill a baby?
Yes.
Who killed the baby?
Not only that. Sorry.
Who killed the baby?
God did.
I love hearing Christians say
Right.
that. God killed a baby. You hear that, Heidi? Did you know that? Heidi's in the live stream chat. I don't think she even knew that God killed a baby. The bastard baby that David impregnated Bathsheba with, right?
Yes.
Yeah. God kills bastard babies. He killed the baby before he killed David.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Well, I'm just stating facts.
I have, in some sense, I begin to appreciate your work.
You're just now beginning to appreciate my work?
And I appreciate because I believe there are many Christians who are professing Christians who are in the faith, who is here only because of intellectual argument. And I think merely being convinced that God exists is insufficient for salvation. You really have to have God's presence the way Abraham and Moses really have that kind of
You got to feel it in your belly.
Yes, so no amount of arguments by you, which you make good arguments, by the way, will ever convince a Christian to live. So
Yeah. Well, unless they don't have the burning of the bosom, the Holy Spirit. Like if a Christian comes on and they don't really have that fire and experience of God personally, I probably could convince them to leave Christianity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, in some sense, I think more fake Christians should leave the faith because I have a terrible encounter recently, and I think people like you is doing the job for us, clearing of the.
You know, Jordan Peterson was on my show the other day, and he said the exact same thing, that I am doing a great service for Christians because I'm getting rid of all the false ones, the bad ones.
Yeah. So, can I entertain a hypothetical here? I think if you were to encounter Abraham and Moses, right, no amount of argument can convince them to believe God doesn't exist. If we suppose the Bible account is true, no amount of argument can make them live. I believe a believer should have that kind of faith, where you have direct encounter with God.
What if Christianity is
Agree?
false? You could be right, but my point is, what if they're wrong? And if someone believes something that's false, and there's nothing anyone could ever say or do to convince them otherwise, they're just stuck in a false belief, right?
Okay, when we see the account of Moses' life, right, where he saw the parting of the Red Sea, and God coming down on Mount Sinai, those kind of things.
Okay.
Do you still need more arguments that God exists?
No, that's a great point. If I were to say call upon God to part the Red Sea, and it actually happened, not just, it was a dry season and the winds were high and the level of the sea was low. Like this, that's a naturalistic explanation. But an actual, like even the Pacific Ocean just like goes up miles into the air, and you've got like bottom of the sea, the ocean. Yeah, I agree with you. It'd be really hard for me to deny that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyhow, I'll let you go. Yeah, it was a good conversation. People find it difficult to understand you because you talk so fast. I asked you to talk slowly.
Okay, I will slow.
Okay, let's practice. Say hello, Doug. How are you?
Hello, Doug. How are you?
No, it's still too fast. Slow it down. Go hello.
Hello. Hello, Doug.
No, and Doug.
How are you?
Even make Doug longer. Doug. I'm just teasing you. You did better there for a second. Was there one more thing you wanted to say or ask?
Yeah.
Pretend you're a Texan. You got a gun on your hip, a cowboy hat on. Talk to me like a Texan.
I forgot. I think this is only. Yeah, but basically, the point I want to say is, yeah, an encounter with God. So.
I gotcha.
No amount of argument can.
Unfortunately, what people view as an encounter of God, I view them as having low standards and just accepting any random coincidence as God. Like you admitted to me the other day that someone lost their sense of taste or smell or whatever, and you thought that was God healing them or whatever. And I brought up, well, this was COVID, and then the COVID went away.
Okay, that was me, by the way, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember that. And so you should raise your standards. If you want an encounter of God, it should be something like a man rising from the dead that you've known has been dead for years, an amputee getting his limb back that everybody can see, lighting up even my water soaked napkin. Things that most Christians would say is testing God and terrible things to do. That's what you should ask for. And if God doesn't like it, and if he's real, too bad. So God will frown and smile for a few seconds.
Okay.
Those are real encounters of God. Even atheists listening say, no, Doug, that's not a real encounter of God. But they might even say, God coming to earth today and doing the things that he did in the New Testament in front of all cultures, all religions, all biases, with 10 different news organizations there at the same time. And Jesus says, hey guys, I'm God. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. I'll prove it. Okay, this coming Friday, I'll go to New Jersey, and I'm going to raise 3 random grave sites, bubble through the soil. And then on the next Thursday, I'm going to actually give Israel their own land, 100 miles off the coast. I'm going to create a little island, and I'm going to declare that the new promised land. And I'm going to lift all the Israelites up into the air, and I'm going to just drop them onto that island that's going to be the most fertile and beautiful island in the world, and it's going to solve that conflict. And then on that Thursday, everybody has their news, and they actually see Jews rising into the air and moving across the ocean onto this island. I mean, no, that would be something. But don't give me, I went to a rock concert, a Christian rock concert, and I felt the presence of the Holy Spirit. Or don't give me that I was suicidal and then I felt the presence of God, and really it was through the friend that came over and encouraged them. Don't give me that garbage.
I mean, your example are through. It was meant to be a test, so I don't think God is that keen to show overly obvious display.
Yeah, God's not into the obvious. Yeah, I understand. Thanks, Japheth, for coming on. And thanks for trying to talk slowly. I appreciate it. You tried. I got to grab some water here, so I'm going to play something else, and then I'll maybe I'll take one or two more callers. What video do I want to show? Oh yeah, this one. I love this one. I have a 60-day challenge out for Dr. James Tour, who's against or doesn't believe evolution, at least not all of it. And so I made this video the other day. Enjoy.
I'm going to take down all the content on my YouTube channel where I've critiqued Origin of Life on one condition. The condition is this: I am going to name 10 key researchers that have published key papers in the area of Origin of Life, and I'm going to give all 10 of you a chance to answer 5 essential questions that need to be answered for Origin of Life to be solved. What are these 5 questions? Well, they're the same 5 questions that I put up on a recent debate that some YouTubers have said have already been solved.
I am going to take down all the content on my YouTube channel where I have critiqued Christianity on one condition. The condition is this: I am going to call upon the one true God, and I'm going to give him a chance to answer 5 essential questions that need to be answered for Origin of Life to be solved.
You just answer one, and I'll take down all my content. I gave them all of the enantiopure small molecules, all the amino acids, all the nucleotides enantiomerically pure, and all of the sugars enantiomerically pure. And I said, all you have to do is polymerize these. And finally, I had build a cell. Let's say you had all of the different components, all the polymers, all the small molecules, and all you have to do is construct a cell.
I will give God all of the pure small molecules, all the amino acids, all the nucleotides, and all of the sugars. And all God has to do is make polymers from these. I'll even give God all of the different components, all the polymers, all the small molecules, and all God has to do is construct a cell. If God does this within 60 days, I will remove my content. True. I will remove every video I've made against Christianity. If God creates a cell from scratch, I'll give it the basic molecules within the next 60 days. If God does that, I will delete my content. So there you go, Dr. James Tour. 2 can play that game. Half my brain tied behind my back. Anybody else want to call in? I'm having fun. Doug, would you agree that once one believes that God is love and omnipresent, universalism logically follows? No, not logically. Maybe intuitively or compassionately, but not logically. One could easily make the argument that a God of love would not send a murderer, a rapist to heaven, that they deserve hell, that true justice requires hell. In fact, William Lane Craig says that. I do admit that universalism helps with the problem of evil, but just barely. Oh, Heidi wants in. Hi, Heidi.
Hi. Thank you for having me on your show again.
Oh, you're very welcome. I don't know why my picture's not coming up.
I would like to bring up the point that we are, in fact, living in the beginning of the end times, and the Antichrist is going to come to rule and reign for the 7-year tribulation. And of course, as you know, the first 3.5 years are going to be peaceful because he's going to fool a lot of people, unfortunately, into accepting the one world religion and taking the mark of the beast. And it will then be too late for them, according to God. And I don't want to be one of those people. I hope you and your followers are not among those people. I don't want my family, any more of my family, to be among those people, because I want to grow as a Christian, as I should be doing. And I want to have the seal of God on my forehead. And I am continuing to grow as a Christian. As I told you the other day, I don't know everything about my Christian faith. And that the reason I'm a Christian is one, God obviously created us, and number two, we are living in the beginning of the end times. There is, if you're paying attention, if anyone is truly ignoring the fake news and you're paying attention to the Bible prophecies that are continuing to be fulfilled, the Antichrist is going to come to rule and reign soon enough. And I don't know if it's going to be in my lifetime because I'm 45. I don't know if it's going to be during the time in which by the time maybe 20 years from now when I become a grandmother. But he is going to be against Christians. And I don't believe in the pre-tribulation. I do attend church with a bunch of pre-tribbers. I don't believe in the pre-tribulation myself, but I do believe that Jesus is coming back. And I don't in my limited human capacity as a flawed created human being, I wish I could understand God more than I do, but I am telling you guys, please don't end up taking the mark of the beast, and don't be deceived by the false prophets of the end times. And we are currently living in the beginning of the end times.
Hey, Heidi, do you have any questions for me?
Just want to say that.
You have no questions for me?
Do you doubt that we are living in the beginning of the end times, and why?
Yes, because...
Do you doubt that there could be an Antichrist who is going to come to rule and reign for the 7-year tribulation? Can you prove that to be wrong? Because I can't.
Yes, I doubt that. And my default position is that you doubt that and you need evidence to show that it's true, not that it's true by default until it's shown to be false.
So you're willing to risk being a part of a false one world religion and accepting the mark of the beast, and then realizing too late that you should have listened to Christians and Jesus himself trying to warn you about the
Well, you said you're
end
post-trib,
times
right?
which are upon us.
You said you're post-trib, right?
I don't know, but I'm not a pre-tribber.
Okay, if what you're saying is true, I got 3.5 years.
I didn't say it was starting this year.
No. I'm saying whenever it starts, I got 3.5 years to make my decision. I'll wait till then.
That's what you want to settle for.
What do you mean? I currently don't believe it. But if you're right,
Why?
I have 3.5 years to decide.
Why don't you believe it? What are you basing your evidence of your atheist beliefs on?
Because I think this is just made up stories.
Why?
To me, it's more likely these are made up stories that people use to scare people into believing God's real and that Jesus is God and all this stuff.
But I'm not scared of God. The more you understand God's message, he's not trying to scare you.
You're scared of the beast.
I'm not going to be accepting the mark of the beast. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I don't believe the beast exists, nor will ever exist.
Well, he will, though.
Okay, well, if you're
You
right...
will find out how wrong you are soon enough.
Heidi, you said it yourself. I will find out whether I want to or not soon enough, right? You just said that. So
Yes.
let me find out then. Let me find out. And then I'll make my decision.
Okay. Thank you for having me on your show.
Very good. Thank you. And I'll have 3.5 years to make my decision. That's a long time.
Not really.
By the way, this is how you handle end time people, especially if they're post-trib. Actually, even if they are pre-trib, it doesn't matter. End time prophecy is great for atheists because all you have to say is, okay, if this horrible thing is about to happen, there will be a time where people can make decisions. Now, they still have to go through bad times, but they will still have an opportunity to make a decision for God or against God, at least 3.5 years. So you just tell the Christian, okay, if you're right, I will have the evidence I need at this point, because it will be obvious that these are end times and the beast is here and all this. So I will have 3.5 years to make my decision, so let me wait. And as you saw with Heidi, they have nothing to say to that. Now, if you're pre-trib, Jesus is going to come, take the elect, and then you're going to be left over. But you'll still have that time to make a decision. But you have to go through all the crap. And just let the Christian know you're willing to go through the crap, because you're stronger than they are. Okay, let's let John in.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Hi. How are you doing, sir?
Good. I like your name. You spelled it correctly.
Thank you. I just had a few questions today. What do you believe in, like, people that say they have prophetic dreams? I was watching an interesting one the other day. His name is Philip Barnett. He
Tim's brother.
Says that he had... What, sir?
There's a guy named Tim Barnett. I'm wondering if that's his brother.
Oh, I have no idea, sir. But he had a prophetic, quote-unquote prophetic dream, and it's called the Azovmina prophecy. He was a pastor inside of Ukraine, and he gave it 7 years ago, where he stated that Russia was going to invade Ukraine.
Oh, nobody saw that coming, except for him?
Well, like, he did predict, like, all these cities that they've taken so far, and I don't know. I just found it very interesting, and I just wanted to get your view on it.
That's like me saying, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, that Hamas would attack Israel. And then I say to you, oh, look, I'm a prophet. Whenever someone prophesies something that is most likely to happen on its own, with or without God's intervention or foretelling, you just discount it. You just say, it's like the Tyre prophecy in the Old Testament. Tyre was a trading hub along the coast, and one can say, I prophesy that the great armies of the time are going to attack Tyre, demolish it or whatever. Yeah, that's a fair bet.
All right. Yes. Also, I would like you to bring on some of these, like, Christian false prophets, like proven false prophets from YouTube. They've been setting dates for the rapture like every other week, every other month. I don't know if you've seen it, but it gets pretty ridiculous out there. And they, you know, like, they hold thousands, hundreds of thousands of viewers. It's pretty crazy.
Well, you gotta understand that about 10% of the U.S. population are mentally ill. I know it's more than it's probably 20%. Actually, I'm mentally ill. I was recently diagnosed with NDD. Did you know that?
No. What is NDD, sir?
It's no disorder.
Oh, I think I see you post that the other day, actually. I did see it.
Yeah, so I'm one of them, really. So we're all suffering together. But I know I've actually done what you've asked. There's a let me see if I can find it.
I have like a couple of YouTubers that you should try to reach out to and get them on to debate, like Dr. Barry Repo Man 64. They're bad. They push dates. Like they just had yesterday as a rapture date, and they were telling everyone 100%. Like one of them said, I just took my last shower. Rapture's tomorrow. It's bad.
Yeah, there's a guy named Chris Yoon, I believe, that I did a video on where he did a lot of prophecies on Trump, and I spent too much time. I spent hours looking at every prophecy he made and then showing where he was false. But his sub count actually did drop because of his false prophecies, but I'm sure they've gone back up. You just gotta.
I've had to make videos before on these false prophets to call them out because not enough people are, and that's why I like your channel. Like, you're at least open-minded. You have good discussions, and I think it's a good thing to help people wake up.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. I'm going to play this now that you remind me. I'm going to play this short clip of Chris Yoon. But thanks for coming on.
Right. Yes, sir. Have a good day.
See ya. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I spent
What I want to do
7 minutes long, but I spent hours on this. This was back in 2 years ago.
declare right now is that the Lord is going to actually re-elect President Trump, and he's going to allow him to come to office again for another 4 years. And so right now it's Thursday, midday, and we don't know the election results, and there's a lot of things hanging on a thread, and it's not certain. But what the Lord has revealed to me is that, and he also allowed me to vote for him, and what he's allowed me to see into is this outcome.
Oh, Heidi, if you're still listening, I want you to see yourself in this guy.
Of the U.S. election, that he will come and he will be elected again, but he's going to allow this period where people are, whether you're Christian or whether you're not, or whether you're in support or not of him, to see that God takes all the glory.
Hey, so what's up, guys? So a few days ago, I did a video and a subsequent series of videos that gave a prophetic word that stated that President Trump would be reelected a second term. And this was a few days after the election when the media called Biden as the winner.
Now he means back to back. It's very clear he means back to back. Now, if Trump wins, he's going to probably claim that he was right all along in November 12, 2020, if Trump wins in November 2024.
And this video is going to be a reaction video and a follow-up video to explain some of the things that God was teaching me and how he was able to really push me to say these things. I'm going to give a few clarifying words about the prophetic gift itself, and as well I'm going to give a word to you guys, some encouraging words, as well as something that is on my heart for President Trump, if he were to be listening. And then lastly, I'm going to give another prophetic word that clarifies a lot of what's going to come.
Yeah, and actually, I'm going to look up how much money this guy made. You can go on a website called Social Blade, and you can look up YouTube stats. Yeah, he still has his YouTube channel. He's down to $4,000 a year in ad revenue, but back in 2020, he was bringing in the views. So when he's talking like this is end of 2020, and they started tracking him. It looks like, yeah, end of 2020. Look at the views. They just went sky high. 8 million views. 8 million views. That's 8,000. That's like $80,000. If you, roughly. He made $80,000 in a couple of months talking like this.
And will shortly come to pass.
Satan has been moving in within one side and the Lord within the other. And what's going to happen is not that the Republican Party, and like I've prophesied that Trump would win a second term.
And I tell people, if God didn't want Trump in office, he could have just snapped his fingers like Ruth Ginsburg, and he could have allowed somebody else to be in office, but he didn't. He knew from the beginning of his life, of our life, who's going to be president at 2016 all the way to 2024, and that right now is going to be President Trump. And people are going to regret, and they're going to reject who God has anointed. And God has anointed, and he's appointed Trump, and you have all these people like myself and all their prophetic some way. Every heart. And the Lord's been giving me this word. He says it's time.
Okay, now time is going on, and it's coming more clear to him that Trump is not going to be president.
It's time for the walls of Jericho to come down. It's time. The end date is January 20th, and everything that's happened in
January 20th.
December rolling around with the would win a second term. But I have set January 20th
January
as being
20th.
A critical date, and so
January
a lot of
17th,
people
he's
are
saying
tripped
this.
up on that. Like 2 weeks have passed and blah blah blah, 30 days, blah blah blah. But remember, a lot of these things you're not aware of, or it hasn't been in the news yet, or you have to wait till the very kind of last minute
because God is working kind of
Gotta
in
wait
that
less
fashion
minute.
at this moment. So again, the three things that have
Heidi, are you listening to this? I view the prophecies in the New Testament the same way as I view this guy. I know you don't agree with it.
not yet come to pass is that Trump will be reelected. He will have a second term. All the different really tried my best to.
Okay, this is January 19th, the day before he's prophesying that Trump will be put back in office.
Set you up for what is to come and what is happening. And so a lot of the prophetic words I've said have come to pass or is me versus what is an opinion that I have. And so I do want to apologize if I don't make that as clear as
yeah, you got to separate the prophetic word versus opinion.
Possible. A lot of people, again, I'm, a young adult and I'm growing in this area. I've acknowledged that in a previous video. I don't want to call myself, a prophet or whatnot.
He's walking back the idea that he's a prophet.
I tell people I'm just
admitting he's young and maybe he's not mature enough and experienced enough as a prophet.
Brother, but I do know that in this hour, which is this week, as well as in the subsequent weeks,
Alex,
there are
take you
three
soon.
prophetic words that are remaining, and that is that Trump will be president again. There's going to be some sort of military intervention, there's going to be a swift move of justice, and whether that's over the span of a day or that extends, there's a big domino effect. You mean that, then you would know that these things will happen as well. Point. So I want to make that clear.
Yeah. And then it never happened. Okay, let's see what Alex has to say. Alex. Oh, you.
Hello? Oh. Is that a problem?
No,
Should I leave?
no. I still haven't seen you at poker in a while.
Well, I saw that it was happening yesterday, but
Yeah.
I'm a busy person. I'm in like the last year of my PhD, so.
Oh, what? Yeah, remind me what you're getting your PhD in? Is it gender studies?
Computer science.
Oh yeah, computer science.
Yeah, it's gender studies and computer science. I figured I'd do the crossover.
Yeah. And when you graduate, you'll color your hair blue. Thanks, Wonder Bucket.
Yeah, it'll look great, I think. The blue hair with the blue eyes. Can't go wrong. I was curious. I just wanted to ask you, like, could you say that free speech is like one of your big issues, I guess?
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could articulate like more what your concern actually is with free speech, or like what you're scared of, I guess. If you're scared.
If I'm scared. My biggest issue is that we allow people to say things that are deemed offensive, even deemed as misinformation, because it actually might be the truth. So, for example, a lot of the things or some things that have happened that after the fact we found out with influence of, let's say, federal agencies with three letters advising people on Facebook, advising people on Twitter not to allow certain speech to be said, things to be taken down. I, for example, should be allowed to say Christianity is false, even if it really hurts people. And most people are okay with that because Christianity is the dominant religion in the United States, and so it's always fine to beat up on the majority. But for example, a lot of people I think would be okay with maybe YouTube coming down hard against me if I said things against certain minority groups.
I mean, I guess I think that's like a little bit orthogonal. I guess there's like the government coming in and doing censorship and surveillance, which is something that I dislike and am concerned with. But then, I don't know, when you talk about like trans issues and stuff, I just don't, it seems completely disconnected. It's like you're upset that people on TikTok or something are upset about what people are saying.
I've actually had 2 videos taken down, and I've appealed. I appealed, I think, both of them, and I got one back. In fact, let me show you. Did you see that video that I'm talking about?
But you think that this is okay? But there's like governmental.
Yeah, I understand.
There's governmental censorship.
There's governmental and there's societal, and they play into each other's hands. And so I not only saying that the government definitely should not prevent the freedom of ideas to be expressed, but even as a society, we need to change this idea of we can't hurt people's feelings. And I think if you can convince society of that, then you automatically change the government, because I do believe democracy does work somewhat. Does that make sense?
I guess a bit. I still think they're kind of disconnected though.
Okay, that's fine. You can think that.
And yeah, I guess I think it's like the wrong approach, because I'm more concerned with like governmental, like free speech and government censoring and surveilling speech.
Well, we agreed there.
And yeah, and I guess I don't know the best way to advocate for that.
You tell people what you're doing. I think a good way to advocate for that is to tell people whose feelings have been hurt to get stronger.
I don't think that's what is. I don't think that's how you prevent it, though, right? Like the concerns for governmental surveillance are not prevented by YouTube keeping videos up or something.
I want to show you a video that I did to see what you think about it. But anything else you wanted to ask, or?
I guess that's the main one. I don't know. I could probably come up with more questions.
Like if you and I wanted to start a YouTube channel on various platforms on really controversial stuff, who do you think is more likely to want to take that down? The Democrats or the Republicans?
Depends on the controversial stuff, but
let's say we do a broadband. Let's say we go from everybody should own an AK-47 to no trans women in sports to ivermectin is the best prevention for COVID, to the problem with African Americans is they don't have enough fathers in the home. Like you name it. We just go back and forth. We're offending as many people as we can. I still ask you, which political party is more likely to silence you and me? The Democrats or the Republicans?
I see. I think you want me to say Republicans, and
no. I want you to say. I want you to say what you think is the right thing.
I think if we're like spouting things that sound ridiculous, I could see the Democrats wanting to leave it up and like pointing at it or something as like, oh look, these right wingers or something are crazy. Like I think both political parties kind of want really out there positions in a way to be out, because
see, I disagree with that. I think if we're doing a broadband offensive type stuff, I think Democrats are more likely, not to say Republicans are free of this either, but I think Democrats are more likely because they're more sensitive people. They care more, right? Democrats are more caring.
In the government or the people?
No, society. I'm talking about society, private institutions, and government.
Yeah. Then I think I agree with you.
Okay.
I think we're in agreement. Like the people who vote Democrat probably would want that taken down.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe on the margins, like 60-40 maybe. Yeah, this is one strong reason why I would vote Republican.
I don't think that has anything to do with the policy that's going to be implemented.
Well, if the majority of Democrats don't want to see X, they will vote for the party that will prevent X from being seen.
And I don't think either party will do that, I guess.
They have done it. I just brought up those examples of Twitter and, like, for example, ivermectin is a great example on Twitter. Like, it was taken down. Hunter Biden's laptop was taken down, and there was no reason for it. In fact, even ivermectin has been shown, like, the studies are mixed on it. It's definitely not harmful. And some studies have shown that it can be beneficial against fighting COVID. Now, but there's certain Democrats, maybe even some Republicans, but mostly Democrats who would say, no, this is harmful information because it might lead some people to be more hesitant to take the vaccine. Even if it's true, ivermectin might help a little bit. We can't even concede that because then these crazy right-wingers might use this as an excuse not to take the vaccine, right? This is how some of them think.
Okay.
I've heard them say this.
Sure, there are people who think that way, but what makes you think that it's the so I think I know what you're referring to with like government organizations contacting social media websites to like remove content.
Yeah.
But what makes you think, like, why do you link that to the Democratic Party? And then like there's a jump, I guess, from there to the Democratic Party, and then from the Democratic Party to Democratic voters.
Okay, why do
And
I link
think,
that to the Democratic Party? Because my intuition is that the people, for example, the Twitter,
ex-Twitter, if you will.
I'm willing to make you a bet that the people who worked at Twitter before Musk took it over, and maybe even now,
We literally had this. Yeah, last time I called
yeah,
in,
90% of the people who worked at, I'd be willing to bet it's more than 90% voted Democrat. Do you disagree?
Wait. That sounds separate than like the contacting of the government.
You asked me about, no, but you asked me what makes you think that they're more likely to be Democrat or something like that? Isn't that what you asked me?
So there's content that's taken down, and you're associating this taken down content with the Democratic Party.
Yes, because the people who worked at Twitter are mostly Democrats who vote for Democrats.
That's why. It's not because the government organizations contacted Twitter. Which of them, like which of those two things is it?
They feed off each other. It's like they vote in people who think like them, which is normal. I vote for people who think like me too.
Wait, what? Who's voting people into the government organizations?
People.
The Democrats vote in. I mean, who? I guess I just don't see the connection completely. Like I vaguely see that, like, you're concerned that social media platforms are run by Democrats and that they're more likely to censor.
Thank
certain
you.
points of
Thank
view.
you. That's what I just said. Yep.
Yeah, but I'm repeating to say that I understand your point of view. Isn't that a technique or something?
Yeah. So
but
if let's say it's true that Democrats as an electorate are more likely to vote in politicians who would censor certain ideas, and I don't want these ideas censored, then I don't want to vote like those Democrats. Correct?
Yes. I mean,
There, that's
okay,
all I'm saying.
Those chains of logic make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they vote in people that are more likely to censor content. I guess that's where we disagree.
And what do you base that on?
Because I don't think that either major party in America has incentive to censor more than the other party. I think both parties are are equally complicit, more like negligibly
Okay,
different.
you could be right, but can you give examples of things that the Republican Party have censored? And I'm sure they're out there. So you give your examples. Like if we were to have hours of time and go through the internet, you give your examples of Republicans have censored things, and I agree they have. And then the Democrats, you still think they'd be about equal?
I mean, so why I say this, I guess, is because I have examples of like the government surveilling and censoring, and neither party convincingly fighting it. I guess that's my evidence, not like a specific piece of content that was.
Well, even with
censored by
the Gulf War, like the Patriot Act, there was a lot of conservatives fighting that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an
Is that
example.
right? I may have been too.
Let me be more moderate. There was at least some, like Ron Paul, I believe, fighting against the Patriot Act, that it was too intrusive. It was going too far. That's not so much censoring, but that's more like controlling the information and what's being seen by who.
Do you have like a gauge for which party pushed back against the NSA after the Snowden revelations? Because I think I would lean Democrat, but I don't know that well.
I don't know about that, but
Are you familiar with the Snowden revelations? Like, do you know what
Yeah,
that is?
I know roughly what you're talking about. He's like the classic whistleblower, right?
Yeah, yeah. He like released information about a bunch of programs that the NSA was running to surveil the like mass surveillance on United States citizens and other citizens. But
Okay, I'm going to play something for you, and you tell me if you think this is worthy of censorship.
You know what I expect of white.
have you found this while also talking?
It took me so long to find it, but it was a short instead of a video. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay, so you're going to have to go to the live stream to hear it.
All right.
Okay. So this was, I think I know what happened. I think the lady who actually made this, or is behind this documentary, saw me post this on Twitter and immediately complained to YouTube. Now, this video I'm about to play was, gave me a strike on my political channel, and it was deemed as hate speech. And I'm just wasting some time so Alex can catch up. Okay, here it is.
You know what I expect of white women? Not a damn thing. Nothing. I expect nothing of you because you have never given me anything.
Here it is. Show me the money.
White women have abused us our whole lives. Why do we have to hold your hand? Can't we just tell you, hey, you guys have hurt us. This is what you've done. Now make it right.
Show me the money.
Because you have never given me anything.
I love black people. I love black people.
You know what I expect of white.
Okay, that's it. The clip actually says I love black people. And this was deemed hate speech and removed from my channel, and I got a strike. And, oh, you're back, right, Alex?
Yeah, sorry. I was like 2 or 3 seconds behind.
So it's this type of thing that bothers me. It puts like a thorn in my side that it's obviously meant to be funny because I got those clips in from the movie, but it's also making the point that here we got some whiners, some complainers who happen to be black. You haven't done anything for me. You haven't done anything for me. And so I'm like, oh, what do you want? Money? And so I'm mocking them that, oh, you want reparations, right? Show me the money.
I don't think the government's censoring that video.
No, I agree. It was YouTube who did it as a private corporation.
This is
yes,
issue with YouTube.
I agree, but it is the.
And I think if you don't like YouTube, then you should vote with your money. You know, you should let the economic forces.
I understand,
drive
Alex. Alex, I understand. I get that argument, but my point is that if you change the social milieu of the people, then not even YouTube would go there. Now, I appealed this, and YouTube admitted, yeah, this is not hate speech. So either their algorithm screwed up or whatever. But we should get to a place in society where the algorithms don't just search for black and woke or reparations and immediately, oh, someone says this is hate speech, and just immediately it seems like their default position is anything that might even remotely look like an insult to a minority, just take it away. We should live in a society. No, that's not the default position.
Yeah. You do have an interesting point here. I wonder, this is just like a random thought, but I wonder if like YouTube is like has aggressive censoring like this because otherwise people would call for more legislation on content moderation. Like that, I think that would support your view.
Well, if I had my way in the world, it wouldn't matter, because once you change the social environment and expectations among the people and the private companies, the government would follow, unless they like really dictatorial. Yeah. And I wish Mike Winger would talk to me, because I actually feel I have compassion for the Christians in the United States on this topic, because I think this is true. Mike Winger has had way more videos censored than me. Now, I understand that he sometimes says controversial stuff, but I've said way more controversial stuff than him. And I honestly think my theory is because I'm an atheist channel, YouTube gives me more of a pass. Now, I can't prove this. This is just my gut speaking. But based on, I produce a lot of videos, probably even more than he does. Not in length per se, but in quantity, just I pump them out, right? And I've called Palestinians retarded.
Yeah, that was a choice.
Watch this. I bet you this video, this live stream right here, is not going to be censored. Hamas is retarded. Hamas is retarded, and the people who support Hamas are retarded people. Now, I dare YouTube to censor this. But on my political channel, when I have a video with black people on, oh, boom, gone.
That is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if this live stream will be taken down. Just for saying the retarded word. If I said the N word, I think it definitely would be, but we'll see where the limits are.
Maybe it's just because people in the UK can say that, or something like that. I don't know why they don't flag that. I have no idea how the YouTube algorithm works, and
But my point, I want to make sure this point is understood. My point is that if we change society to be more like me, Google's YouTube algorithm would be different. They are catering. They are catering to the biggest common denominator of what they view as their listeners, what they find offensive. That's why the algorithm is what it is and why that video was taken down. There's certain people, groups of people that YouTube is trying to protect and others not.
Yeah, I should not. I can't comment on that.
And I think the Republicans are a little less guilty of this than the Democrats. And I'll give another piece of evidence. The Democrats of the future are in the college campuses. Now, who is more likely to silence a guy like Ben Shapiro versus, let's say, Rachel Maddow? Do you think Rachel Maddow could come in and say horrendous things about Trump, which, a lot of things could be true?
I don't know who Rachel.
She's probably a bad example, but who's a Young Turks, Czech Unger? If he was to go on the college campus, odds are he's not going to be shouted down, but Ben Shapiro is. Jordan Peterson would be. But did you know how he bypassed that? Jordan Peterson?
He bypassed the
shout downs at liberal or progressive college campuses. He would speak at 8 a.m, and liberal or left-wing progressives don't get up that early, so he could actually go into college campuses and talk. It's like, okay, do I want to shout down Jordan Peterson or sleep?
I mean, I feel like you cut both sides there.
Oh no, conservatives get up much earlier than progressives.
Every conservative is up by 8. That's one of the prerequisites.
Not every, but conservative Republicans are, they're the farmers, they're the plumbers, they're the electricians, they're the ones who actually do things in life. Democrats don't fix your plumbing and grow your food. I mean, very few of them. When's the last time you've had a woke plumber come into your home?
I didn't ask the plumber last time he came into my home.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The progressives don't do anything useful in life. I mean, for the country. You can't eat a podcast.
Okay, that's not yours. You stole
Yeah. I stole that from, what's his name? I know, but you know who you are. Kudos.
That is funny, though.
It is funny.
You can't eat them, but they're funny sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's valuable.
Anyhow, I've been going 3 hours, 30 minutes.
Yep. Thanks for answering my question.
Okay. It's okay to vote for Trump. He's not going to become dictator.
I'm not going to get into that.
Hey, Alex, you just gained my respect. That was a great answer. Okay, take care. Bye. That was fun. And Elias, I got your message about the Muslim cowboy, but I'm tired. I got to try to stop myself from having too much fun and going too long. Anna likes me. Anna Bizarro Duda. Thanks, Sneed McFeed. Thanks, Jamie. Good to see you here still. I'm glad I haven't accidentally offended you in any way. I probably have, but you look past it. Oh, yes. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I had a super chat. Amos 168. Let me quickly do that. We can do this while the music is running. Bible Gateway. That's my favorite. Oh. I think the caller, the person wants me to show prophecy. This is what the Lord says. For 3 sins of Gaza, even for 4, I will not relent. Because she took captive whole communities and sold them to Edom, I will send fire on the walls of Gaza. I will consume her fortresses. I will destroy the king of Ashdod and the one who holds the scepter. I will turn my hand against Ekron till the last of the Philistines are dead, says the Sovereign Lord. What are my thoughts? Well, I just have to guess what you're getting at here, but my guess is you're saying that this is some prophecy of what's happening now today in Gaza and in Israel, and that this is potentially a type of prophecy that's coming true. And to that I say no. I say that this has nothing to do with prophecy because the kings mentioned, the Philistines, doesn't apply. It has nothing to do. So you have to view this as, at best, some type of dual prophecy. And I'm not even convinced the Gaza that's talked about there in Amos is the Gaza of today. It probably isn't. Yeah, that's the Blues Brothers. So they give you your money's worth? I think you donated to me. This is how prophecy works. It's like anything that remotely could be similar is used. Yeah, the Philistines are not the Palestinians. Heidi, the Earth is 4.6 billion years old, roughly. But Heidi, I will admit that well, I'll let Carl Sagan tell you how the Earth was created. Carl Sagan? Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Scientists have determined that the universe was created by God. Big Bang.
Yeah. So Carl Sagan actually agrees with Heidi.